Let's try it one more time. And I think we're all set. And hit the live button. All right, my friends, we should be live again once more for our Friday Talk Power BI. This is a very special session today. I have this guest in the waiting room right now. You can see a peek of him right now. But yeah, so it's going to be really exciting. So the topic today is best practices for rolling out Power BI in your organization. So I'm going to introduce my guest in just a second. But first of all, I wanted to thank everybody who participated in the recent webinars, the Six Figures Power BI Consultant, and those who applied to the program, and those who, of course, joined. A big warm welcome to all. And yeah, so it has been an amazing past 2 weeks, I think, during which the application has been open. And I've spoken to people from US, Canada, of course, UK, our neighbors across the pond, but also Australia, a little bit further, but also people from South Africa, India, Croatia, Mexico, Honduras, and I feel I feel really privileged, and I mentioned it to these people when I was talking to them. The more I've gotten into technology, the deeper I've gotten. From the outside, it seems that I've gotten more and more technical, but I don't think it's been about that. I really feel the journey has more been about, I feel technology is more about people than anything else. And that applies not just kind of in what I'm doing, because clearly what I've stepped into now is essentially coaching. I'm going to coach these folks to become these amazing Power BI professionals. So that is, of course, about people. But even if I look at Power BI, I think it's about people, and we should never forget that. Any report that's created, there is somebody who created it. Even if it was automated, somebody who automated that system. And not just that, the report clearly impacts people's lives, right? I mean, we use that to make decisions. That's the whole idea. And of course, those decisions impact other people's lives. But not just that. If you go all the way back, what are you showing on there? Are you showing support calls? Are you showing warehouse shipments, inventory? Are you showing sales numbers? There are lots and lots of people who put their blood, sweat, and tears in possibly making that number happen. So the more I think about it, the more it is about people, and I never ever want to forget that. And of course, I don't think I have that risk because again, I'm surrounded by these amazing people, the students in my Learn Power BI family, and of course. This closer knit family that we're trying to build, we have built for our Pro Plus members, the Six Figures program. All right, so I think that's a great segue. So talking about great people, let's talk about Grant Coco. So Grant Coco has been a member of the Learn Power BI program for a while. I've known him for a while. I love his energy. You're going to notice he always has a smile on his face. And he is in the beautiful Northeast. Not as good as Northwest. No, just kidding. It's beautiful over there too. I've been there when I was living in New York to watch to witness the fall colors, the fall foliage, and it was spectacular. But what's special about Grant is this. So he works at a company called Wooded Curran, and you're gonna get to know a little bit more about the company. So he's gonna share his journey, and he has this thing which the first time I heard it kind of stuck. I'm like, oh my God, tell me more. And I'm just going to say, I don't want to steal his thunder, but it's just crawl, walk, run, and fly with Power BI. And when I heard it, I'm like, yes. But what's also special about Grant, and that might be a topic for another discussion that we have, is this. So he's kind of from the IT side of things. Right? I think his official title like senior system administrator or something like that. But that doesn't matter. What I see him as is this bridge, and it's a magical role because most organizations, the IT and business sides, there's kind of this friction between them, if not outright butting heads, and it's very frustrating. And I've experienced that. And then there's a lot of finger pointing, and you've heard me. Sometimes I get so riled up that I throw IT under the bus, and yeah, I get really excited. You can see I get emotional when I talk about that because there are a lot of memories, my friends, a lot of memories. But what Grant has accomplished in his organization is to be that bridge, to build that bridge across IT to the business folks, right? So business folks, of course, we're talking about somebody who's in the front line, sales, marketing, operations, finance, folks who really use it. And that is magical and special because, again, it's been problematic. But if you think about it, they are both part of the same organization. They both have the same goals. But again, something has happened in our culture and our org setup, whatever, I don't know, but it's odd that Power BI I think is a way forward. It can be that link that joins these things two together and have everybody move in the same direction, achieve the same goals. But again, as I said, it's not about Power BI. It's not about technology. It's about people like Grant Coco. All right, so I'll give Grant center stage here. So actually, how do I do this? I actually don't know how to do this. All right, I was trying to have us side by side on. Oh, well, I don't know. We'll see. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, actually, let's check in with our online folks first. Let's make sure that folks can. Hopefully, they can hear us. Okay. Um, and folks, if you're joining online, do say hello. Let me know where you're joining in from. We have Loretta Sue from Tampa, Florida. We are just talking yesterday. Awesome. Good to have you here. Juan Carlos from Honduras. Juan, awesome to have you on. And welcome aboard on in our Six Figures program, my friend. Diego Lopez is here as well. Hello from Mexico. Oh, boy. Wow. So I'm seeing our new members here. That's always awesome. Pavel says hi from Germany. Dale Palmer says hi from Canada. Juan is saying hello to Diego. Yep. So we're looking forward to kick off the program and make those connections. Karthik, hello from India. Ahmed is from Dallas, Texas. Kuldeep says hello from India. Jen Nabel is here again, a good friend. And Steven says hi from Portland, Oregon. We have San Antonio in the house. Steve Ross, hey Steve, good to have you on. Dana from Missouri. And Felix from UK, Rajiv from Toronto. All right, so actually, so Grant, just give me a second. I'm still trying to see how to kind of do this. Oh, perfect. Okay, got it. So I got the display working right. So Grant, if I missed something in the intro, you can add to that. But I want to jump right in the middle of kind of where things are right now. We'll start there, and then we'll backtrack and follow your journey. But what would you
Sounds
say?
good.
What does it feel like right now that the impact of Power BI has been for your team, for your organization, and maybe what you're kind of seeing immediately next?
You bet, Avi. Thank you. So I see that there's certainly a lot of interest around Power BI. People are what's one of the most efficient communication methods that any company can have? It's the rumor mill, right? You hear a rumor, that we're going to get a raise next month, and all of a sudden everybody knows it, right? And the same thing with Power BI. I
Wow.
run into folks within our organizations that will go to seminars and or conferences.
Mm-hmm.
They'll see Power BI being displayed by either Microsoft itself or by competitors,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody says the same thing. Oh, look at that, that's dynamic, and I'd like that too.
Yeah.
So if people have interest in it, uh,
Mm-hmm.
where does that interest lie? How much? Everybody wants everything right out of the bat, off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
but are they willing to invest the amount of time that they need uh, to learn the skills to leverage the product? And
Yeah.
it just I
Yeah.
found that different people are at different places along their journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I will say that I mean, frankly, the demos almost make it look like a magic wand, right? You wave it, and everything is fixed. It is a very capable, amazing tool. Of course, I love it, but it's not quite a magic wand. But I will say, Grant, that that thing has been slightly problematic. So I don't want to go off too much on a tangent. But I feel like every BI tool that has come before that, and even in market right now, they all the sales pitch, the demos, they're all the same. They all claim to be the magic one. So that kind of muddies the water a bit. But so where are the areas you have applied already and kind of seen results? So people were pretty excited. But kind of in the present state, what kind of results impact you've already seen with Power BI?
Well, I've seen actually reports that are being created across the business.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've been kind of putting feelers out there throughout the company
Yeah.
to understand who's doing what with Power BI,
Yeah.
I'm gaining more insight into the types of challenges and the types of data they're working with.
Yeah.
So there,
It,
and of
yeah.
course, with our company, we have a number of different strategic business units. So
Mm-hmm.
we focus on different areas of technology,
Yeah.
but data is data, right? And I'm just trying to
So
learn Power BI the best I can so I can get my
yeah.
skills up to speed and I can be a good mentor to other people who are trying to follow my journey
Mm-hmm.
and try to alleviate some or lessen some of the pain that I experienced and make
Yeah.
it an easier path right along.
Yeah.
So the folks that I interact with span quite a wide spectrum
Mm-hmm.
from executives, CEO level,
Yeah.
senior leaders. And even this week, I was introduced to a young gentleman who's joined our organization as an intern. He'll be here for 3 months.
Yeah.
And guess what? His dedicated project is a Power BI project.
Wow.
So we've got people who are new to the company and have very
Yeah.
little experience with Power BI,
Mm-hmm.
but they have goals to accomplish.
Yeah.
And my job is to help them accomplish those goals.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So sometimes I talk to young people. It was yesterday. I was speaking to a gentleman who's 26, and I'm like, hey, it's terrific that you started, found Power BI so early. And of course, same thing with on the organizational path. If an intern finds Power BI, imagine how much more productive they're going to be throughout the rest of their career journey. It's pretty incredible. So Grant, I know you have some demos and stuff later on as well. So guys, hold on for that. We're gonna see some kind of real examples of the work that has been done. But what would you say? Are there specific departments which have been quicker to take this up, or it's been pretty even across the company? What have you seen?
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up that way because I haven't been targeting specific departments per se.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within our organization, we have on one side we have all of our corporate services. So you've got finance, the IS department, the legal,
Yeah.
facilities, and those are the people that I tend to work with mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Is our internal corporate department. And it makes my job very easy to publish a Power BI report
Yeah.
because everybody inside the company has a Power BI license, and I can either share it directly from Power BI or I can share
Mm-hmm.
it on a web page or I can share it through Teams. It makes it very easy. But the core work that our business does is that of a consulting company, and we do engineering and science
Mm.
work for various clients throughout the country. And the natural progression will be to bring Power BI to our clients. So
Absolutely.
a lot of the consultants that work on that end of the business are
Mm-hmm.
also very interested in determining what we can do to leverage Power BI,
Yeah.
not only for our company ours internally, but what can we bring to the table for our clients.
Beautiful. That's brilliant. So maybe I should have asked this to begin with, but definitely tell us a little bit more about the company,
Sure. Do you want me to present my screen
if that helps.
or share?
Absolutely. Yep. Go ahead
Yeah.
and share. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Okay. So we'll go with you. And let me know if that's come up.
Perfect. Yep. It's up. I'm looking at my name in large font.
Great. So let's talk about. Whoop, hold on a second. I have to click there. There we go. Okay, so I work for Woodard and Curran. It's probably the finest company in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. It's outstanding executive leaders. The culture here is
Yeah.
amazing, and we focus on solving environmental problems primarily. Uh, we have
Wow.
a group of consultants that meet with people. We have engineers. We have talented scientists. I mean, the quality of the people who work at this organization is just par excellence. So
Wow.
amazing, amazing groups of people to work with. And so that's why I'm so excited to bring more enthusiasm and
Yeah.
insight into what we can do with Power BI because I know the caliber of the people who work at this company.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get their feet wet, and the sky's the limit.
Wow.
And so that was part of my goal,
Yeah.
is to evangelize, if you
Yeah.
would, the
Actually, can you go back on that slide because man, that's
sure.
so wooden current. First of all, two things like environmental services. Tell me a little bit more because I was just speaking to a gentleman in UK and UK or Europe somewhere I forget, but they were talking about that. Hey, I want to work for a company where it does something good, and it aligns with the values and so forth. So environmental services. What kind of impact? What kind of things are we talking about? Give me maybe some examples.
You bet. Well, so for example, we have one entire division that focuses entirely on water.
Okay.
And if you any treatment of water, if you have clean water coming out of your faucet, we
Yeah.
might have had something to do with that,
Oh,
because
beautiful.
we handle stormwater, wastewater,
Mm-hmm.
anything to do with the processing and the cleaning of water, and making
Yeah.
sure and that's just one small area. We have
Mm-hmm.
divisions that focus on air. We
Yeah.
have divisions that focus on soil quality. So when you think about construction projects that might impact the environment, if we're
Yeah.
going to help a city municipality baseball field or sports facility, we'll do environmental impact studies in that area to
Yeah.
ensure that there isn't some kind of an adverse condition that happens in a wetlands that's nearby.
Yeah.
So those are, and that's perhaps one of the biggest reasons that I enjoy working for Woodard and Curran, is that we do good work
I know.
for the
I
communities,
know.
coast to coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's brilliant. So I was listening to somebody else, and they were talking about this thing that they were talking about sales and all that stuff, and he said, "Hey, if what you're doing is kind of good, it's not really selling; it's a gift." But then they said, "But if you're trying to sell Coke, you have the Coca-Cola, right? Not Coke, but and it's something with kind of filled with sugar. I'm not sure. I mean, what kind of I know I would have a conflict. So, but yeah, this does make things easy. What I also want to ask you is that the model, the type of the company seems really interesting because it seems like you guys are like a bunch of consultants which get called in. So it's not like, oh, we build these services for you. It seems is it that? Did I get that right? It's like a
Oh, well,
consulting company to the rest of the world.
Well, consulting is the beginning. We have a conversation with the client
Hmm.
of what their objectives are that they need to, or the technical challenges they need to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then we take, in some cases, we build what they need.
Yeah.
So
So
there
so
are
but
there are
does your company does the build part as well, or are you kind of these Uber, I don't know, kind of project managers, owners, and you would contract that out? I'm just trying to understand what the dynamic of
both.
the company. Okay, wow, all right, so it's
Yeah,
wider than I expected. Perfect. All right, my friend,
yeah.
that's great, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. It just helps to be working somewhere where you feel aligned. And so the company is that cheers to 40 years. I wasn't sure. So that's for the company, right? Or have you completed 40 years in the company?
No, I don't have that. I've got about 10 years of experience with the company, but
All right,
the company was founded 40 years ago. And in
beautiful.
fact, coincidentally, this afternoon we have a Founders Day celebration where we'll be celebrating our 40th year. And
Oh my
so that's
gosh,
why
I'm
I
kicking
added
off.
that on.
This was the
Yes,
kickoff.
indeed. Yep.
Great. All right. Perfect. Let's so go on. So I'm not sure what you have coming up next, but what I wanted to ask you was we got an idea of the company, and we told us about how Power BI is impacting the company right now, but I want to go back way at the beginning. So I know you have this analogy which will unfurl. I'll let you unfurl when we're ready to crawl, walk, run, fly. But maybe even before crawl, uh, would you know like one of those things where like were you the first person in the company, or when actually yeah, but let's start there. When did you find Power BI, and if you remember, when was that?
I do remember.
All
So
right.
I happen to have underneath my Woodard and Curran shirt a Microsoft Ignite T-shirt,
All
and
right.
the first place where I was exposed to Power BI was
Mm-hmm.
while I attended some of the sessions there at Microsoft Ignite.
Okay.
And so
And
uh,
and which year was this?
this would have been 2 years ago, 2 or 3
Awesome.
years ago, just before I signed up for your courses.
Great.
So. Yeah,
All right. So you.
so it's probably the Ignite conference from 3 years ago is when I first saw Power BI,
Uh
and I
huh.
get more excited every time I go to the events because now
Absolutely.
that my eyes have been open and I'm aware that the product is out there and I
Mm-hmm.
understand what it can do, now I'm paying attention. So oftentimes, what I've found, people might go to a conference like I've done,
Mm-hmm.
see a demonstration of Power BI, and they're
Yeah.
like kids who are standing outside of a candy store, and they're like, "Oh my God, I want all of that! Give it to me!" They haven't even gone
That's
through the door yet,
hilarious.
but they.
That's hilarious, man. Oh shoot! I'm gonna grab a pen and write that down. Hold on, folks. Kids in a candy store, outside the candy store. Great, great. So you found that, and then maybe it was you. Maybe I've often seen that it's a small set of folks who kind of bring in Power BI. In some cases, they have to bring it in with the as the Trojan horse. You have to dress it
Yes.
up. But what was that like? What was like the very first steps, or that phase in the company, the first few people? Can you think back to that?
Well, yes. So from my perspective, the way it worked is my awareness of Power
Mm-hmm.
BI was turned on. So
Yeah,
now I know that it's out there. I'm
yeah,
sure other people in the organization were hearing about Power BI from their colleagues and constituents. But for me, it was Microsoft Ignite who opened my eyes and said, "No, let's
yeah.
take a look at this as a product." Um, to take a step back, part of my role is to evangelize all of the products that are they're part of the Microsoft 365.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of our employees are familiar with the core products, Outlook, Word, Excel, and those type of products.
Mm-hmm.
But there were several people who were not familiar with any of the Power Platform apps. What to
Yeah,
do with Flow, what to do with Power Apps, what to do with Power BI.
yeah.
And so um, when I started to look at Power BI, the first question I have to ask myself is, do I want to become the company's Power BI go-to person? Do I want
Ooh.
to build all the Power BI reports for the company?
Hmm.
And when you start to think about that, that doesn't scale very well, does it? Because I'm
Yeah.
one person, and even if I could build a great Power BI report once a month, the total number of reports I can do a year is 12 maximum. If
Yeah.
I build a decent Power BI report in a week,
Yeah.
um, I could do 52 in a year maximum. Okay, and how is that going to bring our business along? It's not. So my objective was to say, what am I going to do with my time? And that's why this slide
Mm-hmm.
I've got up here, what commodity does everybody have
Yeah.
in equal abundance?
Yeah.
Because more valuable than gold or platinum or silver
Mm-hmm.
is the time that each person has in the course of a day. And what you do with your time every day makes a
Yeah.
difference in impact into what kind of a
Yeah.
success you have in your career.
Yeah.
So I had to make a decision. Am I going to be a Power BI puppet
Mm-hmm.
where people are pulling my strings to,
Yeah.
pull? And you know how it goes. You build a
Absolutely.
Power BI report that somebody else kind of explained to you what they want. You build that first iteration, you show that to them.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the response is, "Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
but I need this, that," and you go down the scope creep road. So,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
uh,
Yeah, I want to stop you there for a second. That is really incredible. So, folks, one word I'm going to call attention to, that he's talking about time, and the word he used here is abundance. All right. So, in oddly enough, the program that I mentioned at the start, six figures professional that we're running, and frankly, that I talk about this stuff every chance I get, which is we run around with this idea in our head that opportunities are scarce, money is scarce, hence, and time is scarce. We run around saying we're busy, and I really think that the opposite is true. And frankly, once you step into that, it is abundant. So great. I love that use of the word. Carry on, Grant. Go forth.
you bet. And so I'll go beyond this slide, but basically, you have an opportunity to invest your time, spend your time. You can also waste your time. And I didn't want to be wasting time just being somebody's, a Power BI go-to guy and have my head just buried into the nitty-gritty of generating the reports. I wanted to see our business explode with Power BI enthusiasm and help as many people as I can.
Yeah.
So when I think about Power BI, I say, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a tool.
Yeah.
And some people get really oh, Power BI, it's this magic wand, like you say, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, I brought along my crystal ball, which is a prototype of my new quantum science device. It'll connect up to data sources and give you insights immediately, and you
Perfect.
don't have to do anything. You know what I'm saying? But that's
Shake
what
it for
people
an
want,
answer. Yeah.
a crystal ball. And it is a tool, similar to a Swiss Army knife or a Leatherman that people have. And a Swiss Army knife, somebody might take it out, and the only thing they ever use it for is a Phillips screwdriver,
Mm-hmm.
and they're missing all the glorious other tools that are
Yeah.
available out
And
there.
and then you do hear the stuff that this doesn't work, or this isn't what I was promised, or yeah, yeah, I hear all sorts of things.
So I like people and the point I'm trying to make here is oftentimes when I publish a Power BI report, I
Hmm.
never even mention Power BI at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
hey,
just I
folks on the
just
phone, just stay on mute while we're doing this, and we'll have Q&A then. All right, carry on.
But what I was saying is that it's just a tool. It's a method for you to get to your objectives. What's really important is the goals and having a clear understanding of what information you'd like to glean from the
Yeah,
data.
yeah,
Avi, so many times on this show, you have said there's a data explosion going on. The
mm-hmm.
amount of data that we have available across all the departments is just
I
growing at
know.
an exponential rate. And to a point where I think that over time, more and more people are just going to need tools like Power BI. And the more
Yeah,
comfortable you are with working with the tool, the more agile you become, and the
absolutely.
faster you can turn out these reports. And so it's and there's only one thing that will get you to a point where you can be agile: practice.
Hmm. Okay, I like that.
If you think
Yeah.
if
Uh,
you think if you think of an attorney or a
yeah.
doctor, they have a practice that they are involved in,
Wow.
and where they're committed every day to that practice. And if you're going to be a Power BI professional, you have to be committed to your practice the same way that any other professional would be.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I always talk about learning by doing, but yeah, what you said about practice, I hadn't quite thought of that word, but now I'm thinking about what you said about lawyers and doctors. Yeah, they call it a practice. Maybe we should start calling our consulting firms or whatever we do like even department names. Maybe they should be called practice, just to kind of have that reminder. Beautiful, man.
You bet. So, so we also talk about Power BI being a journey. And this was something I was thinking about yesterday. As I was commuting from Portland back to my home in New Hampshire.
Mm.
Um, I think of journeys as being long,
Hmm.
but I mean, you can have short journeys too. If you look up in Wikipedia, it just says that a journey is the act of traveling from one place to another. Okay, so I can
Mm-hmm.
go from here to the bathroom. You could call that a journey, but I really don't consider short trips journeys. I
Hmm.
consider journeys to be long. And so the example that I'm going to bring up is if you wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail from
Yeah.
Springer Mountain in Georgia up to Mountain Katahdin in Maine, where Maine being where our home office is located,
Beautiful.
it's over 2,000 miles to trek that to make that journey. Now, think about it. The people who hike the Appalachian Trail, they have different agendas. They have different paces that they want to hike that trail. Some people might want to do 10 miles a day. Some people wouldn't be happy until they hit 20 miles a day. Some people would want to hike from Maine to Georgia. Some people want to hike from
Mm-hmm.
Georgia to Maine. So there's different paths that people can take along the same journey. And I think it's important that you have to define your own journey. How fast do you want to go? How slow do you want to go? And what are you going to do to prepare for this journey that
Yeah.
you're planning to take?
Yeah.
So if you're planning to hike the Appalachian Trail, you might go out and get Appalachian Trail, How to Prepare to Hike It guide, and
Great.
go through the book and read what other people have done about how they handled dealing with bears and other animals on the trail, and how and get some experience. But reading books about hiking the Appalachian Trails or buying DVDs and watching other people hike the Appalachian Trail isn't going to give you any direct personal experience yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get out there and you've got to hike and you've got to learn what
Yeah.
it's like to put the blisters on your heels. And
Yeah, and of course you're not gonna put on a backpack and just set out for the Appalachian Trail. You're gonna do like short hikes, right? Maybe around your neighborhood, and then maybe check out a section of the Appalachian Trail, right? So, even that journey, there's like a yeah journey sometimes could be even to get there, and of course that could be different for everybody. Beautiful. So the only thing I'll call out, guys, that this is so beautiful, and I love this kind of space where we get kind of metaphysical because sometimes that's where the good stuff is. But clearly, what I'm really enjoying is that you can't make out whether Grant is talking about the organization or he's talking about the individual. And I really don't think it matters because sometimes kind of the same rules apply. And you got to be kind of aware of both of these. You got to be aware of, hey, the impact you're having in your organization, but also get really personal and selfish, if you will, and just focus on yourself too. So carry on, mate. This is beautiful.
you man. So here's the next idea, and this one it just reminds me. A lot of people, like I say, they're the kids standing outside the candy store, right? And they say,
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yeah.
try that out.
Yeah.
Okay. But what is the level of commitment? Because usually it's, oh, maybe I'll watch a video here, watch a video there, and I'll pick it up. Maybe there's 2 weeks between the time when they started a project and they pick it up again.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that got me kind of laughing is I remembered back in Star Wars when Luke Skywalker was trying to learn the Force from Yoda, and he kept complaining that no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't quite seem to get it.
Yeah.
And Yoda, in his wisdom, said, "Do or not do. There is no try."
Brilliant.
So if you're going to be working with Power BI, either do it or don't do it. Don't try out Power BI because you'll be
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah.
You won't have you don't have that commitment that you're going to learn something about Power BI. I try to learn something about Power BI every day,
Mm-hmm.
and quite honestly, I learned most of what I learned from the course that I've signed up through you.
Thank you.
Um, you would think that um, once I went through the basic course that I would never go back and watch those videos again because I learned everything, but quite the opposite is true. Many
Yeah.
times, if I'm struggling on something, I'll go back to the core course and look at
Yeah.
a module,
Yeah.
revisit it, and there will be a golden jewel of knowledge that I missed the first time through. That the
Yeah.
second time, now that I've got a little more experience, I go back and I rehear the lesson that was taught,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get it. It starts to make more sense, and it is more applicable to the challenge that I'm facing on that particular day.
That's beautiful, and I'll kind of call that out too. So guys, this is incredible, and of course, that's why I surround myself with these amazing people because you learn from them, and I frankly I learn about myself, about my program. I mean, yeah, without that. So what I want to call it was that this thing that we sometimes see, I don't know, success or learning as black or white. We see somebody and say, oh, they're an expert. They know it. I don't. And it's not like that. And this learning is this iterative process where what I've found is that you gotta as you learn you go deeper, and that's what Grant is talking about. What I've also found is that sometimes you forget the lessons and you have to relearn them, and I think that's the learning process, and I just enjoy it. Now the oddest thing is that the same thing I've seen this happen in like the technical area where I'm trying to learn Power BI. I've seen the same thing in my personal level where I'm trying to, kind of self improvement and all that stuff. So I learn more things about me, but then I have to go relearn them. Maybe it's like going to the gym, and also when I'm like running my business, and they say, hey, everybody should act like their own CEO, right? So on that realm, I'm also relearning lesson. So yeah, that's pretty beautiful. So yeah, I think don't see it as black or white. It's this process that Grant is talking about. Beautiful, mate.
So the next topic I want to talk about is your level of confidence. And this is critically important. Now, I like this graphic right here because it shows that as the level of confidence goes up on the left side and your amount of knowledge goes across the bottom axis, you
Yeah.
can see that you can get to a quadrant in the upper right-hand corner, where you're mastering something.
Yeah.
But if you're low on knowledge and high on confidence, you're just going to make some misinformed mistakes. And if you have low confidence and you have no knowledge, you're going to be paralyzed. If you have a lot of knowledge and low confidence, you'll have hesitation.
Man, that's
But
brilliant.
with the confidence and the knowledge together, then you can get to a point where you master. And this is applicable if you talk about Power BI or really anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. The only thing is, yeah, I have a little bit hesitation with the word mastery because again, not because of the word itself, but I think what people have it mean, like in their head, like, oh, I'm not an expert, right? I mean, so it's not kind of perfection, you know. So yeah, so hopefully that doesn't. So if I may ask, I don't know if it's a useful question or not. So if you were not in the green box, what's the second best box to be in? You know.
True. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I appreciate that. Yeah, because the other three seem like they're all negative, and there's only one positive outcome.
Well, I
And
don't want to
so,
be uninformed paralysis. That sounds horrible. I wonder if you have a preference. I don't know if it's gonna matter. Like, yeah. So, what's your take on the other two? The misinformed and doubt.
well, I think the point I was trying to make in this is that over time, the more how do you gain confidence
Yeah,
with any product or any subject matter? The more you work with it, the more confident you become.
yeah,
And that gets back to my point. If you're daily involved with working with Power BI and
yeah,
you're tackling challenges, you're overcoming challenges, even if you're just watching videos and learning and getting
yeah.
tips and tricks, you are improving your ability to master the product. You're
Absolutely.
increasing your confidence. And
Got it.
if you increase your confidence and you increase your knowledge simultaneously, you're well on your journey to the upper right hand
Love
quadrant.
that. Yeah, I love that you tied it back to your journey thing. Beautiful, beautiful. Carry on.
So I had to put in an obligatory eagle photo. This is a shot of an eagle that I took when I was on vacation.
Nice.
But again, emphasizing that confidence and knowledge will equal your success. So this gets us to the crawl, walk, run, fly.
Oh boy,
And
awesome. I'm ready for this.
so, you know, um, originally, when I when the idea came into my head, I was thinking crawl, walk, run, because a lot of people want to run out of the gate, with
Mm,
Power BI. And I met an amazing gentleman at the Microsoft Technology Center. His name is Jose Valencia. I don't know if you've ever met him, Avi, but he is a Power BI guru.
nice.
On the Microsoft side, he's very well versed, very knowledgeable. And when I said to him, crawl, walk, run, he said, yes, crawl, walk, run, fly. So I
Wow,
can't take credit for this. This I can thank
it's
Jose.
beautiful.
But the idea is people do want to fly right out of the gate with Power BI. I want to see those amazing visuals. I want to
Hmm.
see, some good data analysis. And you have to start slow. You have to learn the basics, and then you can get up and running and become agile. And then sooner or later, you will eventually be able to fly right out of the gate. I mean, it won't be out of the gate, but you'll be able to fly with the product.
Yeah.
So, but oftentimes when I speak to somebody, they'll say, "Okay, we want a report that has real-time data coming as somebody enters something into our data source, we want to see that appear immediately on the report."
Yeah.
And I've actually I've had to pull them back and say, "Really? Do you really need that minute by minute,
I
or
know.
would hour by hour be good
Yeah.
enough for you?
I
Would
often,
day by
yeah,
day?"
I know. I often ask them, like, what action would you take? Like, right? I mean, if you saw, oh, it's change a minute, are you going to take an action in the 5 seconds, right? Or, in the next hour? And then, yeah, so that's a good one. That's good. It's
And
good to
and
call them out.
so that's just one example. And I think when of a misunderstanding that people have ahead of time, but when you talk it through, they realize, oh yeah, if I had a daily update, that's all I'm looking for. That's what I mean. Or
Yeah.
if I had a report that updated every hour, that's perfectly fine. And I found that I've been able to overcome any of those objections very easily and just move forward.
That's great.
So along my journey, I'm saying I'm running along pretty good. I'm not quite flying yet, but I'm up, I'm
Yeah.
up and running.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I will say that you can. So, we talk about agile, and I always think of that in cycles and so forth. So maybe this is also kind of in cycles or mini cycles, So and that I think links back to the journey thing as well. So, yeah. So maybe that's how I'm seeing it. But yeah, continue on. I definitely want to hear more.
Sure. So this is just a reference to the Queen. Remember Queen from the '90s? I want it all. I want it
Beautiful.
all, and I want it now. Because this is, again, kind of emphasizing a lot of times when people are the kids standing outside the candy store. That's what
Hmm.
they want when they start to hear about Power BI, and they
Wow.
don't realize what is needed to get from
I know.
outside the candy store to the point where
Yeah.
you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, the question that I'm thinking is like, if the kid is standing outside the candy door, and I've seen that, right? I mean, you see an executive like, "Yep, take our whole ERP system, slap a dashboard on it." Right? I mean, it's and again, that kid analogy, I love that because if the kid says, "Oh, I want it all," I mean, I want to ask like, "Really?" I mean, right? I mean, yeah. So it's not even right. Perfect, beautiful, love it.
So this is kind of similar, I think, to what you were talking about before. And I hate doing PowerPoint because, I mean, especially when you put a lot of information on a slide, that's the worst thing you do, kill people by PowerPoint. But this was kind of a thought process I was going through, just saying, what is your interest level?
Hmm.
Why are you interested in Power BI? You ask people, why are you
Yeah.
interested? And somebody might answer, I saw a cool demo and I want to give somebody that.
Hmm.
And their level of interest or their skill level at that point is they're just curious. They really
Yeah.
don't have there's no motivation to learn the product. They just see it. They're the kid outside the candy store. Or they say, that it might be slightly different. I saw a cool demo and I might want to give somebody that. Okay, now
Yeah.
they've got some personal
Yeah.
reason to look at Power BI so that,
Hmm.
or somebody's watched a few videos, or they've actually downloaded the desktop app. They've tried to attach some data,
Hmm.
so they're a novice, but they need a little more encouragement to decide whether or not this is something that's going to be right for them, for
Hmm.
a long period of time. Um, so, and these are sample
Yeah,
levels. Okay,
and
okay,
of course you
you
can one can transition through these states, right? I mean, these are not like absolute, right? I mean, obviously you can go from one to the next. Yeah,
Right,
in the
right. I
journey
mean,
you
this
talk about.
this,
Yeah.
this isn't Microsoft published, levels or anything like that. You see what I'm saying? After
Yeah.
you've published a few reports, you might be considered an apprentice. If you've worked with Power BI often and you sharpened your data modeling skills, now you're a
Yeah.
journeyman. And
Yeah.
then, you work with Power BI, you're an artisan. You get to a point where you're a master.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's great. So folks, maybe it's just me, but I sometimes, yeah, mastery, perfection. I hesitate on that word because that often stops people, and always think that done is better than perfect. So what I want to call out is that every stage, every single stage that Grant has represented here, you can still be adding value. You can still be adding tremendous value, right? So obviously, master artisan, those higher levels, you can see how they add value. But I'll bring you back right to step one, where somebody's curious with no real motivation. I think that they can fulfill an amazingly beautiful role in this world. Enough people don't know about Power BI, right? It's crazy. I don't know. There are 750 million Excel users out there. For one, a good chunk of them should know about Power BI, right? So I don't want you to discount yourself if you don't feel like, oh, I'm not the master or I'm just an apprentice or anything, right? I mean, even if you're step one, there is an opportunity for you to add tremendous value. Just operate kind of where you are, follow Grant's principle, kind of crawl, walk, run, fly, the whole journey thing, and yeah, keep that in mind. Beautiful, my friend. Carry on.
So I took this analogy to a different level because I have some experience with the martial arts, and I thought that this was a clever idea. You just switch it around. You say white belt, yellow belt, green belt, purple belt, that type of thing. And this was just, again, don't go get it
Fun
involved in the
exercise.
details. But you know what I'm saying? You're a white belt. You've just gotten started. You advance. I thought it was a clever idea until I went out to the Power BI users group, and I find that they have an entire black belt program where people can sign up. Now, Avi,
All right.
I want to talk to you about this because do you know that for every belt level, they're charging like $300 a module? And look at the types of things that they're putting out there. I'm not trying to diss these guys, but they're
Yeah.
trying to do the same type of thing, a different kind of method. if you progress through the different levels to purple belt, they start working in teaching people about DAX. When you get to brown belt, you're advanced DAX modeling. And then by the time you get to black belt, you're starting to look at custom visuals, sharing dashboard reports, and things of this nature.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that when I took a look at the value of your course compared to this course, it's going to cost me more money to go through this program to learn everything that you've already taught me. And what do I get? I've still been working with sample data. I haven't had even a chance to work with real data yet. I'm
Yeah.
still, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
at even though they give me a black belt certificate, I'm still at the novice level.
I know.
So
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have an opinion on that. I mean, so it's funny, right? I mean, people talk to me about certification, but often people join my course just after completed certification. So and I talk to them right on the personal welcome call. So I'm on the call and say, "Yeah, Avi, I just completed the certification. Now I really want to know how to use it." So sometimes learning can be this tricky thing, and yeah, I feel the real learning comes from doing. So often, if somebody is thinking about certification or this black belt program or anything, I always question that if if you had a choice that, oh, you could spend, let's say, the next month or two or whatever to get the certification, or you could spend the next month or two working on a real project with a client, which one would be better off? And of course, I know the answer. At least I've seen it. The person who goes through a real experience, they're gonna blow the other one out of the water. The other one, couldn't even stand in the same room. So it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I mean, I do believe in that kind of the learning by doing cycle. But hey, to each his own. If somebody feels like that learning path, they want to spend more time, as you said. I mean, Appalachian Trail, you get to decide how you want to go through that.
right, and part of we don't have to talk about this particular program very long, but one of the things that I noticed is that there's a time limit to the number of you get 30 days to complete the each module in the course, and then you
Yeah.
don't have access to the course modules anymore. So as opposed to your course, you have unlimited, access to the course materials, which, makes
Yeah.
it a
And
better experience for the student.
I know, and I remember the day I started calling it family. It just happened out of the blue. So I had been running my course for a while, and one day I was like, "Oh, learn." I was talking to somebody else, and said, "Learn Power BI Family," and and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess that's got a nice ring to it." But yeah, everything changes. I mean, so yeah, words are powerful. When you start calling it family, it definitely changes the way you operate. Perfect, great. So I'm definitely interested in this. So this is how to promote Power BI. Uh, so of course you talked about how it always kind of starts small with a few people, and then it does befall upon them to kind of educate others, get them excited. So tell me about this piece.
You bet. So for me, as I said, because I work with the corporate services department, all of my clients, if you would, are all internal. So when I start to think about promoting or publishing Power BI reports. Again, one of the things I play down the fact that it's built on Power BI because I don't think that that's what's important. It's
Mm,
what's the information.
love it.
So it's the end game,
Yeah.
right? Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People begin with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to provide a tool for that's going to be useful for your audience,
Mm-hmm.
and they really don't care if it's built on Power BI or built on something else. So I usually don't spend a lot of time beating the Power BI drum and saying, "Oh, look what I can do," with Power BI per
Yeah.
se. But I just get to work and I do it. And
Beautiful.
then one of the ways that I publish that is, um, so step one, introduce Power BI to the
All
employees.
right.
So let me step through it. One of the first things that we did is we engaged in a program where we would educate people about the various applications that are available through the waffle. And I'm not talking about your
The
breakfast waffle. I'm talking about the Office 365 waffle, or we
beautiful.
call it the waffle, the app launcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did sessions on most of the products that are new, uh, OneNote, OneDrive, Teams,
Mm-hmm.
but included with that are the Power Platform applications. So Power Apps, Power BI, and Flow. So I was tapped to do the What's in the Waffle series about Power BI. I did one of the sessions. Actually, we did two sessions on Power BI. I believe it was the only session we did two sessions on,
Wow.
where I did one session that was general how to use Power BI,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had one of the engineers from one of our divisions who had built Power BI reports
Mm-hmm.
do a separate demo of how is this relevant to those of us who work at Woodard and Curran. And
Nice.
between those two sessions, I think it's spawned a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around Power BI, and and people saw the potential of what we can do with Power BI. So that's one way. Similar to what we're doing right now, we're having an hour session where we can talk about Power BI,
Mm-hmm.
provide some opportunities in your organization to attend informal training sessions.
Yeah.
Not so much that you're going to go through the deep dive into how you do things, but introduce them to Power BI, show some demos
Yeah.
of what can be done, and
Love it.
get their minds starting to think, and how can I use this for me?
Beautiful.
So that's the what's in the waffle, and then build a community. So the next thing that I did is I spun up a team site built on Microsoft Teams,
Mm-hmm.
and I called the team site. Now, most people when they build a team site, they would just call it Power BI team, because the purpose is to get people who are using Power BI to talk together, and But I said I didn't want it to be product specific,
Yeah.
because what's mostly important is the insights we're getting from the data that we're leveraging through Power BI. And so I named my team the Power of Insights. And I invited a number of the professionals who've contacted me with questions about Power BI to join the team. And so now, with the Power of Insights, I can go into the
Wow.
team sites. We've set up different channels. So if we want to have discussions around connecting to data or building dashboards and reports, or we do a lot of, there's a lot of interest in our organizations around the GIS mapping capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a channel that's dedicated to that. I've got a channel that's dedicated to resources and training, where people can quickly get right to the Microsoft Docs, or
Yeah.
a reference on DAX, and how to leverage M or R. Um, and
Beautiful.
then we're also talking about some of the custom visualization tools. We have a channel that hey, did you download a cool custom visualization tool
Yeah.
from the App Store? What are you using it for? And that's what that channel is primarily
Awesome.
about.
Love it.
If you notice that I posted about the June update, and while we're talking about that, have you seen some of the cool things that have been coming out with the latest June update?
Uh, yeah. Well, gosh, sorry, I'm blanking out now. But yeah.
No,
Did something catch your eye?
not to worry. We won't go through everything, but I just noticed that the UI change is something that
Oh
was
yeah, that's true.
significant.
I know.
And and I felt bad because I said, geez, Avi went through all that and put together all that training, and now they changed the UI. Son of a gun.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, I do get that a lot, but um, I do feel that the core concepts doesn't change and haven't changed in a long time. So that comforts me as a trainer, because otherwise, yeah, my life would be a nightmare. Right?
it would be terrible. No, the nice thing is they just lightened up the color, so the icons are basically in the same place. The ribbon is still basically the same.
yeah,
I mean, there's not that much of a drastic difference. It's just an aesthetic difference when you look at the UI.
yeah,
Um, but they're constantly rolling out new features, new functionality, and it
yeah.
makes it such a joy. I can think of some of the challenges that I encountered 6 months ago that
Mm-hmm.
now if I pay attention to the updates that are being rolled out, I say,
Yeah,
oh, look, now I can do what I couldn't do before.
yeah,
And so I encourage people to pay attention when they see the notification that their desktop app
yeah,
is out of date, and to download that. Now we can take this offline and at some other time, because I remember through the course you indicated that if you go to the App Store as opposed to downloading Power BI
yeah.
Desktop from the web, it automatically updates.
It does.
But I
Yeah.
found I
Uh huh.
found that if I go to the App Store, it tells me I've already got the latest version of Power BI, and it doesn't allow me to install it from there. So at some point in
Hmm.
time, we may have
Yeah.
to work on that to
Yeah.
understand what maybe I was doing wrong, or just understand.
Yeah.
Uh,
Got
but in
it.
the meantime,
Yeah.
it's easy for me to just go download it once a month and then review what has changed. And
Yeah,
so I've
yeah.
been
The
following
the
that
only
path.
thing that I would say is that I think this is really risky for people who are just starting out, because sometimes they starting out and they feel like they need to be on this, and they feel like, oh my gosh, it's always changing. And frankly, even if you're not starting out, but if you get the feeling that you have to stay on this treadmill, folks, you don't. I mean, if anything, look at me. I'm an example. I don't pay that much attention, and definitely for somebody who's starting out, this would be the wrong place to focus. Once you've kind of gone through the basics, the core concepts, and you have a good understanding of that, the query editor, DAX, M, relationships, row, filter, context. Once that's set, then yeah, it's great to kind of see the updates. But otherwise, if you're starting out, stay away from this. All right, cool. Word of warning there.
And so, and then what's the next step? The next step is you start to publish your reports and dashboards. And so obviously the first thing that you're going to do after you've gotten your report built on the desktop apps, you're going to publish it to the Power BI service.
Mm-hmm.
And so natively from the Power BI service, then you can start to share your Power BI reports with people within your organization, certainly easily enough.
Yeah.
But the challenge with that is that they have to be comfortable going into Power BI, and then
Mm-hmm.
and it's simple, right? You go into Power BI, you go into where the files that are shared with me, you click on the report, it opens up, and
Yeah.
and you would think it'd be easy, but if people aren't familiar with working with Power BI, it could be a little bit intimidating. So typically, that's why what I do is I publish my reports either to the intranet, which is built on SharePoint,
Yeah.
and then or to a team site, which has a nice
Yeah.
widget that allows you to embed Power BI reports right onto to a page right there in the Teams.
Yeah, that one is beautiful. And I like that because if people are used to going to those places anyway, like if they have been using SharePoint site for a while, or they already use the Teams for chat and everything, then it just puts it right there. It's not this one other location you have to remember to go.
Okay. And so here's an example of a Power BI report that I've published out to our intranet.
Nice.
This
Beautiful.
this particular report, I'm connecting directly to SQL Server,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got it set up so it refreshes daily. It just looks in our database of all of the contractors that have been approved by our company to have been vetted by the various departments. We've
Mm-hmm.
got everything in line for us to do work and business with them. So
Beautiful.
they've been pre-qualified, and people can use the refiners to drill down. In this example, they could
Mm-hmm.
locate a company in Phoenix, Arizona. And we've used a
Got
little
it.
map to show you exactly right on the street location of where that vendor could be found. And the other thing that I've done is, as I mentioned, is I've used Teams to embed
Mm-hmm.
reports onto the team sites.
Yeah.
And so here's an example of a dashboard. We're doing office sustainability reports where
Wow.
each office goes through, and this was actually quite a challenge because at the time the organization had put together a series of spreadsheets, one spreadsheet for each office where they could keep track of their progress of all of their activities to remain green. Um, and I found that it was challenging connecting up to, there's 30 different spreadsheets. I've got 121 queries. And when I run the like an update or a
Yeah.
refresh, it takes a month of Sundays.
Yeah.
And so this will be one of those reports that I'll be looking to optimize. And I'm not showing you all the other details across the tabs,
Mm-hmm.
but when you go
Got it.
drill into
Got it.
the actual individual office locations, you can see
Yeah.
more details about specific action items that they've taken and what they still have on their
Yeah,
plate.
yeah, beautiful. But
But
again, I just want to call out, guys. So, folks, you may or may not be using Teams. If you're outside of Microsoft, you probably know Slack. Teams is kind of the Slack competitor, but Microsoft is pretty incredible. We use it internally inside our team as well, and it's basically lets you. So think Skype, think. Skype for Business, all of that, and so it lets you chat and interact and work with your team, but again, this is embedded in the team portal as well itself as a tab. So over here you can see the conversations one. So that's where normally people would go and kind of chat with each other. But they say, hey, and it's just one click away to access that status report. So I love that, just being able to put the report in there, and clearly Grant has shown us both kind of in SharePoint and here. Beautiful, mate.
and so then what's the next step? and this is where I'm at in my journey,
Yeah.
is how do I now take the skills that I've learned, so
Mm-hmm.
in producing Power BI reports for our internal audience, and advise some of the consultants that we have who are interested in doing Power BI report for our clients.
Yeah.
So a different set of problems. We probably don't want to get into that today, but it's, how do you connect to the client's data? And then once you pull in the client's data, how do you share the report with them in an effective way? If you
Mm-hmm.
don't know, for example, do they have a Power BI license? Are they an Office 365 shop or not?
Yeah.
And if they're not an Office 365 shop, then what's the most effective way to share those reports so they can gain the valuable insights into their data, which is
Mm-hmm.
what our objective is going to be, as
Yeah.
the end game. So that is the next target, is to understand that this is the holy grail.
To
This
bring it to
because
your
we
clients.
are, we're our business is based on our clients and the work that we do for our clients. And so if we can get to a point where Woodard and Curran are experts in providing Power BI deliverables to
Yeah.
our clients, then that'll be the icing on the cake.
That's
And
beautiful.
that's what I've got for my presentation.
Awesome. So, folks, let's. So, first of all, um, let us know what your thoughts were about the presentation. And hey, your feedback is important because we're gonna queue off of that and decide whether we do these sessions or not, right? So if you liked it, do let us know. All right. So type in the chat box, and folks on the phone, I'm gonna kind of you can put something in the chat box as well in here. So we would love to hear from you exactly what your feedback for this was. I I'm still processing it. There was an incredible amount of knowledge and wisdom in there, and yeah, this was pretty incredible session. So Grant, I want to thank you for that, and
Oh, you're welcome.
maybe we'll take some questions, thoughts from folks on the phone. So I see Greg, Mahindra, Mark, uh, oh gosh, Nikolai. I think I said it right. And Shweta and Steve, of course. Do you guys have any thoughts? Any questions, anything specific you wanted to ask Grant? All right, let me ask Steve. Hey, Steve, did you see something else kind of interesting pop up on the chat where, yeah, which we should bring up?
Well, I don't see too many questions. People want to download potentially download the PowerPoint if possible,
Yeah. Okay.
and and
Okay.
maybe have be able to watch the recording, which I'm sure will be available on YouTube
Yeah, that's
later.
right. So the recording is all the recording for Past Talk Power BI is available on my channel. So that one is easy. I'll work with Grant offline to see if the slide deck can be made available. If it can be made available, then we'll just put a link in the video description. So when you go watch the replay, check out the description, and we'll put some kind of a message after on anyway. Either we'll say that hey, no downloads, or we'll put a link
Sure.
to that. So that sounds great. So
So
yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
don't see a lot of questions. I think people were just listening.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't see.
That's
Sometimes they get off topic and they start asking questions, but that's
that's
not
okay.
really the case here.
Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting.
It's a good
So
sign.
yeah, I do want to ask you one thing. So I know we talked about kind of this journey of the organization with current Power BI rolling out best practices, all of that sort of stuff. But what I want to ask you is that what's your personal journey been? Do you feel like how has Power BI really has it changed your life? And if so, kind of how has that journey been for you?
So it's interesting because before, when I was like the kid outside the candy store, right? I saw
Yeah.
Power BI, and I was interested in what I could do with Power BI.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, when you work with any level of technology for a number of years, sometimes you're looking for something that's fresh or new, and it gives you excitement, right? So
Yeah.
it's something like new. And with Power BI, it's really something that's close to my heart. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was in high school, for example, there was uh, I took every math class that the high school offered before I finished my sophomore year. And
Mm-hmm.
they were frustrated because they had to give me college level courses because math was something I was very interested in.
All
So when
right.
I started to look at Power BI, I'm saying, oh, look at this data, and you can do some analysis. And when I started to learn about DAX, it's just one of those things that some people like that and other people don't. And to me, it just lit a fire. I'm like, oh, this is
Uh,
exciting. So,
yeah.
but it was more like, what can I do with Power BI to embellish my career, to make
Mm,
me a better person? And the more I thought about it, is if I really want to move my career along, I shouldn't be selfish about trying to just learn Power BI on my own and become the only
mm-hmm.
authority, keep it
Yeah.
all to myself. The best approach is to learn how to evangelize the product, help
Yeah.
as many people as I can
Yeah.
achieve the goals that they need to achieve. And then my success, it'll just come naturally.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. Yeah, it's ironic. So I think you had a much more thoughtful approach to this. I think I kind of just stumbled into that, but there was something about Power BI. I mean, certainly it changed things for me. So I was that Excel jockey cranking out a lot of reports, and maybe in a way I understood that even though I was busy, it was mostly busy work, and I wasn't really adding that much value. I was pretty replaceable. Again, I didn't say those things to me. I'm looking back and feel like there was some of that going on because I remember how defensive I was, right? I mean, I was always, so the phrase one of my coaches uses is that you're not playing to win, you're playing not to lose. And of course, I'd gone through a layoff, so that was in my head, and I'm like, I don't want to lose my job again. So I was this, I would hold my cards close to my chest, and I would do this horrible thing, which I feel so guilty about, that when they asked me to transition a report, if I was going on vacation or something like that, and they would say, "Yeah, Avi, can you teach this to somebody else?" I would teach them most of it, but I would just conveniently forget or skip over maybe one or two crucial steps, right? And because I wanted to feel important, I wanted them to call me, and I wanted the house to be burning, and say, "Avi, we need your help," and it was so bad when I think about that, just that mindset. And of course, frankly, I was kind of struggling. I struggled in my career throughout. And with Power BI, it changed. But what you were talking about, that Power BI is just a tool. So in a way, it wasn't the tool, but what I started to do. And one of those things that would happen was, instead of keeping things close to my chest, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. Who else can I teach there? Right? I mean, I would just sit people down and, like, if anybody wanted to like talk about Power BI, I was there. And of course, you don't realize that that is the stuff when you let your fears aside, right? When you just focus on yourself, that's not the best way to, kind of rise up in your life, in your career, in your business, anything. When you start, kind of move the focus from you, that's when you just bubble up. It's weird. I mean, I've seen it, and of course, kind of hearing your story as well. So, Grant, thank you so much. And I know we've
no,
talked about it. We have like other topics that I would want to explore with you. So hopefully we'll have you back again on the channel and talk about that stuff. So thank you so much for today.
thank you, Avi. I appreciate it.
All right.
Glad to be here.
Take care. All right, folks. That was incredible. That was awesome. Let's see. So I'm gonna hang out with you folks. So actually, there were a few questions I think that popped up. Let me see which were. Um, all right, so I got Nikolai's name right. Yes. Um, so so Grant, actually, I think you're still on, right? Yep. Okay, cool. So let me
Yes.
see. So Mark says this was great, getting an insight into the real world application of Power BI. Thanks, Grant. I would love to hear how Grant has shared insights with outside clients. So I think that's what you are working on right now, outside customers. Grant, is that right? That you said, I think
Yes.
that's the next
Yes.
step. Um, got it. And Nikolai said it's very nice presentation, certainly applicable to one of the companies I work at. That's great. Um, Oh, so Nikolai is saying at another company, the CFO is very hesitant when it comes to Power BI. So I'd also be interested in hearing from someone who did the Trojan horse approach. I can definitely talk about the Trojan horse approach, but what I would say is, let me remove this one, is that first, if they're hesitant, you want to find out like what is their hesitation. Um, I mean, yeah. So one of my friend has this line which I really love, and he says people don't really resist change. They don't really fear change. They fear loss. So you have to understand what is it that they're afraid of losing. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's losing the job. There's somebody cranking out reports, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this thing, I'm going to lose my job." So they're afraid of that. Sometimes they're afraid of, I don't know, losing control. Yeah, that can be a big thing. Now, if it is an executive, CFO, it could be a trust issue, which again kind of is this control thing. So when I was working at NBC Universal, working with them on the Power BI, one person had this beautiful story. I loved it. And he talked about the time when they had introduced computers, and people were very resistant to that, and they would still do paper reports. So one day, the gentleman that I was working with, he walked into an office, and this guy was throwing paper into the trash bin, and burning them. There was a fire going on in his office, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm finally burning my reports." And and he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He said, "Oh, I'm burning my reports because I know we computerized everything, but I didn't quite trust it, so I've been still doing the paper method, and every month I would compare them side by side, side by side. But I've kind of given up now. I realize that it's accurate. Sometimes it's even more accurate than my paper stuff, and obviously it's much less work. So what I want to see is, unfortunately, we can't have like a real bonfire because that would be so freaking awesome. I want to see like a virtual bonfire of all the mess that we do. The clutter of spreadsheets and craziness, right? The duct tape and band-aid, and just light it up in a giant bonfire, mate. Wouldn't that be awesome? So it could be that. I've heard that kind of a trust thing that, hey, I don't trust it. I do it myself, and my people do it, and they've done it for so many years. Um, so, um, so usually when there's resistance, I don't try to counter that. I sidestep it. I like to sidestep it. So usually what I would say to them is, so one approach that I've used really effectively, and I've heard from other students as well, is you go in and they have a set of Excel reports, and I duplicate the exact same reports, but under the hood I change everything, right? So now it's query editor, now it's a Power Pivot model. So of course so the report doesn't look much different. So they're used to it. Now, of course, for you to be able to do this, they have to be experiencing pain in refreshing the report. That it takes too long, it's a lot of work, it's maybe error prone. So they have to be experiencing that. So you redo the under the hood, it looks the same, and then you say, look, now it's going to refresh with just one click or automatic refresh. And they're happy about that. It's like, great. Our same report, right? No change. Looks the way it was, and all the numbers are the same. You can do the comparison and all that stuff. So I give them that, and then I say, oh, by the way, you can also get in this graphical way, and I totally downsell it. And again, you got to judge, you got to read the sentiment. So you shouldn't try it everywhere. But in some cases, I would like downsell. I would say, I don't really know. It's whatever. Just take a look. So I would totally downsell it. And usually when I do it that way, since maybe I set their expectation low or something, they come back with their jaws to the floor. I'm like, whoa, Avi, man, this is awesome. Can we really like refresh this? And I'm like, yeah, it just refreshes automatically. It's connected to the same data source that the Excel report is, so it's a one source of truth. But yeah, you really thought it was good? It's like, yeah. And then they, of course, they ask me something like, what about this? Could we add that? And I'm like, yep, sit down, take a spot. So yeah, so again, I mean, it always doesn't turn out that way, but it can be that way. So that's kind of one approach. The Trojan horse approach, for one, sometimes it can take some guts, and I had to do that myself within Microsoft because there was, believe it or not, a lot of resistance to Power BI. Again, people are people. They don't. I mean, Microsoft. Not Microsoft, doesn't matter. I mean, people are people. They're resistant to change. So there was a lot of resistance in a group to Power BI. And this was back in the day. Of course, now things have changed, but it's kind of all over the map now. But at that point, there was a lot of resistance. and I always say ask for forgiveness rather than permission. So I had to do it kind of on the side. I didn't ask anybody. I actually did ask them. They said no to me multiple times, so I stopped asking. I just went out and did. So and you go from the ground up. Yeah. So it's kind of one path. So hopefully that helps. Oh, okay. So Nikolai is saying her reason for hesitation is when she loves doing work in Excel. Yeah, I feel that. Most people would hate doing the same time-consuming report time and time again, but she enjoys it. Yeah, she's afraid that she can't maintain it when I'm no longer with the company. Yeah, those are that's good. So what's really awesome is that you kind of see that. So you're aware of that. Mm, and I'm not sure. I mean, all battles can be won. I'll say I feel lucky as a consultant that. So sometimes I show Power BI to some folks, and the response that I get back is, "Oh, I can do all of that in Excel," and I say goodbye. you know, good luck, mate. Good day, or something like that. Right? It's like, okay, see you later. I just don't want to spend my energy there. I would rather focus on people who are excited and kind of open. But sometimes you don't have that option. Um, uh, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, this may not be kind of an easy thing. She loves doing work in Excel. Yeah, yeah. So if yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is delicate, and again, this is where I love this space because again, as I was talking about, it's not about technology. Power BI is a lot about people. So there may not be one right answer. Um, I think that concern that she can't maintain it when I'm no longer with the company, I feel like that needs to be somehow overcome, but not directly. I often feel that if you go directly at that, it doesn't help. So I'm thinking about how what's the best way to sidestep it. I think I, I would try to maybe plant the suggestion in a head. It's always great when you can make them think that it's their idea. That look, it's gonna happen eventually anyway, right? I mean, look at the way the world is headed. Modern organizations are not doing the old approach, right? So pick up some pain points, whatever. Um, some modern organizations are using kind of these automated systems, and they're using interactive reports, and that's just a start. It's going to accelerate in that direction. So if that's the way things are headed, um, right, then the organizations who don't adopt it are going to struggle. So maybe kind of appeal to that sense, and so yeah, that's the best that I can think of. And again, there's no kind of right or wrong. Maybe that helps. All right, let me check in with my YouTube folks. So first of all, let's see what's going on. Da da da. PowerPoint presentation. Talked about that. How can you handle a role as BI new to Power BI in the company? All right, Jen liked it. Awesome, great. All right, folks. So let's. Did I was it a specific question? There was a question on the web by Muhammad. He's asking how can I get data from any website database to Power BI. That's a little bit generic, but I'll try to answer that best I can. But let me switch over to our phone and see if folks. So hey, this is also time to kind of just pick my brain, ask me anything that you want, and especially if you have any Power BI question. It doesn't have to be. It could be about career. It could be about running a business, consulting with Power BI, anything else as well. But yeah, let me ask the folks on the phone. You get first dibs. So Greg, Mark, Nikolai, and Steve, of course. If you have any question, maybe Power BI question you would want to ask me. And meanwhile, I'll set this up. Oh gosh, crawl, walk. How beautiful is that? Oops, not rub. With Grant, amazing, Coco. Perfect. That was awesome. All right, so I didn't hear anything on the phone, so let's take. Let's take this one. So 2 people voted for this one. So we're gonna take that one, and then Mohammed will get back to you right after this. Oops, I missed F in the Florence. So let's see. Where's my clock? Hold on. There's my clock. Perfect. So we'll say 10:21. We're talking about I don't know, new just stepped into Power BI role at a company. So Florence is saying, yep, how can you handle a role as so you got a BI related role, could be a different, could be whatever title, but yeah, so that's that. Hold on, let me try to see if I can get the webcam on here. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So I got that, and let me share this screen. Great. All right. So you just stepped into the role, and how do I handle that? Ankit is saying, I'm facing the same with Tableau. Work in Power BI. Oh, that's interesting. Work in Power BI in previous company, and now I'm doing another one which is Tableau oriented. So trying to make a case for Power BI, which I feel is better. Ooh, I guess they're not as related. Okay, you know what? Let's Florence. So let me answer your question really quick. How can you handle a role as BI? So first of all, I want you to acknowledge and pat yourself on the back. Congratulations on the role, by the way, right? So I want you to feel that way. And so you know that feeling when you get a new job, a new role or something, you're kind of excited and you're almost giddy sometimes, like, oh my gosh, yes. And then sometimes it fades so fast, and you're like, oh my god, and I don't think it should happen that way. I want you to enjoy the journey, and just because if there are obstacles or things you don't know doesn't mean that you can't kind of enjoy those parts. You gotta kind of embrace them as much as anything else. So yeah, go into it with that spirit, and yeah, as Grant said, it's going to be a journey. So if you're new to Power BI, now of course there's going to be some learning. So and doing so. Others who followed me definitely know this. So I talk about the learn, do, fail, win cycle. And the more times you can repeat it and the faster you can repeat it, the better it is. That's how you're going to get better. That's how you're going to increase your impact. So yeah, so you're going to be focused on learning, great, but that's, it's just theory. You don't internalize it until you start doing. And so, of course, that's the way my course is structured as well. It's structured so that you follow this whole cycle. So inside the course, I do teach Power BI. I do focus on the core concepts, query editor, DAX, relationships, filter context, row context, all of that, right? So the core concepts, visualization, Power BI platform. So we focus on that, and that's a learning piece. But as you're going through it, I want you to start applying it. And that's great. That's when you're going to internalize those concepts. Oh, I get it. But you would soon find that inevitably you would fail again and again and again. And this part gets really frustrating. Of course, I saw this pain in people who were going through this journey. Of course, I had myself gone through incredible pain, believe me, on this journey. It felt so frustrating. It just feels is it wrong. And so Grant was talking about DAX, and he and I feel it's kind of unfair that DAX has gotten this reputation that DAX is hard. It's not right. It's not hard. Once you get into it, the fundamentals are so simple. The when I got it, the light bulb went on. I'm like, that is it. That's what a row context is. That's what a filter context is. I was like stunned. Now, of course, it's kind of like Lego blocks. So the concept itself is simple. It's like Lego blocks. But yes, you can combine Lego blocks and make a Star Wars spaceship. So, but still, you gotta remember that it's Lego blocks. You gotta remember that. I mean, when you look at the Star Wars spaceship and go, oh, this is so hard, you're not doing yourself a service, right? So yeah, so that's the fail part. But again, you can do it on your own. But this is where it's crucial if you have a kind of support around you, right? So if you have a coach, you have a community around you, and of course that's what we do in a program. We surround these people with the community, with coaching from me direct. And of course, hey, I'm here, right? I'm going to ask, hey, folks, do you have any question? And that's it. That's all they need to do. They can hop on this call. We do other calls with our classes on Thursdays. We do even other crazy stuff where we book private consulting time with me, which is crazy because I don't do consulting anymore. I walked away because I wanted to support my students 100%. So really, my students through that program, they're the only ones who are kind of my consulting clients now. So anyway, so learn, do, fail, win. So you want to think about that cycle. And the first project, I think, is critical. So we're not talking about like trial projects and it's something you're doing to learn. No, this is going to be basically you're going to make your mark. And this one is critical. Now, for one, don't think big, think small. Think right. So Agile BI is all about that, and what I call the MVP, the minimum viable product. And Grant had a quadrant, so yeah, you want to think on that scale as well. So something which is kind of so imagine this is effort. Oops, let's try that again. So if this is effort and this is kind of value, so what you're looking for is something that is low effort and high value. I actually didn't do it right because the good things always should end up in this quadrant. But anyway, you get the idea. So low effort, high value, you're looking for that. And there are tons of examples in Power BI. So something that was really hard or impossible in the old world, but is really easy in the new world. I love solving that. And guys, do you imagine, how easy you make it for yourself? You walk in and sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes what they're struggling with I can solve it just by relationships, right? So if they're flattening a crazy table, they're doing a ton of VLOOKUPs. Guess what? I pull the same thing in Power BI, but instead of VLOOKUP, I can just drag and drop and create a relationship, and they go, whoa, amazing. And of course, I don't show them that. I show them then result. Hey, look, here's your report, and now everything is quick and easy, and it works fine. It doesn't take 3 hours to update. It doesn't take 10 minutes when you click on a slicer. And they go, whoa, right? And I didn't even do anything, right? It's like just it's nothing. And Power BI is littered with those examples. Maybe littered isn't going to work. It's like, yeah, gold everywhere, right? So that's what I look for. And man, this becomes what I call the shining beacon. And again, maybe you don't get it very right on the first project, but again, the iterate, right? If you don't get it right, but this often becomes what turns heads. People see this and say, how did you do that? When it's going to be your report, others will be showing it like, how did you do that? And say, Florence, Florence helped me do it. And boy, she took like a week to do it. If it's crazy, you should talk to her. And man, it's just incredible. So that's how we kind of ride the wave. As you go along this journey, then everything that Grant said applies. Remember, don't make it about you. Empower, help, make it a community. Just go out there. Everything that Grant said. That's how I started. Now again, Grant had a very thoughtful approach. I didn't get a chance to ask Grant about it, but it seems like he had done this before. Like I think he had gone through the cycle, not with Power BI, but maybe other technologies. And maybe I don't know. Maybe he had like an instructor experience as well. So there was something in Grant which he naturally gravitated towards. So it was very thoughtful. Not for me, because I was that Excel hoardy. Remember, I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna tell you how I refresh this report because then you're gonna fire me. That was so bad. So I stumbled on it, but I did some of exactly the same thing. So he talked about what's in the waffle, the brown bags that they would do. I would do brown bags because frankly I couldn't keep it inside me. I'm like, I have to share it with everybody. So brown bag, kind of internal community, kind of a company community as much as you can. Take part in that, and of course, I also recommend kind of external community, Power BI user group, something like that. I highly recommend social media and that sort of stuff. Share your journey. You don't have to be an expert. In fact, if you're going through Power BI, kind of starting out, if you share your journey, you're the best person to help somebody who's also starting out. So that's important stuff, and I would like you to keep that in mind. Because what we do is, oops, what did I do with my display? Hold on, guys. I can't, what's going on? Okay, yeah, are we back? Nope. Okay, so what people do is, the whole, so Grant mentioned Stephen Covey, and I'm gonna invoke one of the things that I learned from him urgent versus important. So, folks, we give so much attention to what's on fire, burning, that we forget what's ultimately important. If you don't do important stuff, you may not end up in a happy place, right? So, this day and age, you gotta, you are your own brand. You gotta build your brand. Now, social presence isn't the only way to do it. There are lots of different ways to do it, but you need to be doing that. Doing brand packs, doing presentations. Go speak in your user group. Don't just attend. What the heck? Speak, right? So go ahead and present. So building your brand, and there are lots of different ways. Now, there's some that I favor, some that I feel that are easy. So yeah, as you go on this journey, build your brand internally. That's great inside your company, but I really think in this day and age, you should also have like an external facing brand. Like the world should know you, not just, oh, I'm a celebrity inside my company, but outside nobody knows me. That's it's a little risky. I mean, of course, Power BI puts you in a very advantageous position, uh, but things happen. I mean, yeah, companies change, reorg happens, companies get bought over, sold, whatever, right? So you don't want to be at the mercy of that. And of course, for those for whom it applies, I think so. If you look at the numbers, the world is increasingly moving towards that. So Microsoft, I know there's almost a conscious push of like, hey, can we kind of outsource it? And and yeah, so if you look at the freelancing economy, just search for like freelancing economy statistics. They're like crazy statistics. I think by I don't want to say it wrong, but maybe it's like by 2020, the more than 50% are going to be basically freelancing. So the full time employment is going to become rarer and rarer. So yeah, that's coming. So especially, actually, I was going to say if you're young, you should watch out for this, but I think everybody should watch out for it because everybody's susceptible. You don't really know when it's going to happen to you. I didn't really know when I was going to be laid off. I mean, I actually kind of did. So I was working in a bank and I saw the whole financial meltdown, but frankly, I couldn't do anything about it. That what they say, watching like a train wreck in slow motion, or people talk about how they were in an accident and they could see everything kind of slow motion, but you can't do anything about it. So that was me inside the Washington Mutual Bank, and the financial thing was up in roaring fire, but I couldn't really do anything about it. So yeah, it could happen to anybody. So young or old, doesn't matter. So I think you should watch out for that. So again, so I gave you a little bit more of the journey, but again, what we do is we focus on what's right in front of us, but we forget what's really ultimately important. Well, that was longer than I expected. All right. Hey, Grant, did you? Hey, I'm glad to have you still on. Did
Yeah.
you have something you wanted to add to that?
No, I was just listening to your
Okay.
explanation. It was excellent. Thanks.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So Florence, that helps. Let's go. So folks on the phone, if you have a question, just unmute yourself and talk. Yeah. So I'm not gonna pull you again. Actually, let's switch over and take kind of a Power BI question, although it's very generic, so I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Oh, I like some of these. So let's go. Muhammad has a good question. Ansgar, hey, good to have you here, my friend. Ansgar has a good question. Yeah. So I feel like I want to focus more on the Tableau side. So sorry, not Tableau, but I like. Okay, so let's go over here. And so what I want to take is Ansgar's question. First of all, because we love him, he's awesome. We have heard from him before, I think, on one of these Talk Power BI. I think he was on. But this might line up with Grant's next step as well. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we'll say 1035 share RBI internally without sharing. Okay, so the first answer that I can think of to this. Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. So actually, a few answers. So I'm not really sure. I'm trying to order them in my head to see which one is kind of easiest. But I may not get it exactly right. But I'll give it my best shot. So the first thing is publish to web. Now, this one does make it public. This one does make the report public, but it, anything under the report, like how you're doing the calculation and so forth, that is not public. They can't access that, right? So, but it is public. So make sure your data is not sensitive. Oops, where am I typing? Okay, there we go. Data is well, basically, I'll just say is okay to share publicly. But none of your basically PBX internals are shared, and you control 100%. You control 100% what's shown on the report. So you, right? So you can and I don't know, turn Q&A off and stuff in the report, and you can do that. So they can't pick anything out. I mean, they see what you want them to see. And this is a great way. So let me see if if he's still on this. But one of our students focuses on healthcare. Let me see if I can find his site. Yeah, perfect. And he used to have this. I don't know if he still has it. Ah, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, you can build something like this, and of course, when you publish it to web, you can. So in this case, it's not interactive. Oh, okay. So he took a different route. He took an image and kind of has this hover thing. It's like, hey, do this, do this, do this. But you can also, of course, have it kind of be interactive just by publish to web. So that's one way to do it. And I'm trying to bring up to see if the report still works. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he removed it, but that's okay. So publish to web is one, and yeah, that's a great way to do it. Now, that would be my recommended way. But for general speaking, so it seems, yeah, you just want to like tease them with the potential clients. So I think this would be the best way to do it. In general, though, sharing outside, you can use. So now we're going beyond Anskar's question. Power BI embedded is a way. Now this is not cheap. I mean, I think it costs you like thousands of dollars, few $1,000s. Now, of course, you got to compare it to the value. So one person that I was speaking to, they had a system. They had like they already had a system to kind of an online service, I'll say, not a system, not so online service, which was targeted towards, believe it or not, water parks. Oops, gosh, I can't type. Right, so they went around the country talking to these water parks that, hey, look, you probably we have this awesome service which lets you manage and lets you see all your cash collections and data and all of that sort of stuff and run everything, right? Employees maybe whatever they need, right? Training. I mean, do people have CPR training? I don't really know, right? So they were the experts in this, and they said, "Yep, if you run a water park, our system is going to have you let you have complete control over it, and so forth." Now, of course, what they wanted to do was they had some reporting, but they wanted to bring in Power BI because Power BI is so awesome. And so what they used was they just embedded Power BI in their existing online service, right? So they already had a service. So that's one way to do it. And that's a great way because, and of course, you can charge extra. This is beautiful. So it's like, hey, and again, you can have it like freemium or and now obviously these water parks are already paying them, so you can say, hey, you get these reports are free, but oh, do you want more? Here are the samples of you can have more if you pay us, I don't know, X $1,000 a month. And again, we're talking to businesses, B2B, so the rates are kind of really different. We're not talking, it's not B2C, so it could be thousands of dollars, whatever. I mean, it's again, money doesn't. It's like, is it too much? Well, it depends on a few things. It depends on the value that you think it is providing, and can you show that value? Can you explain that value? Can you communicate that value effectively? And that, of course, comes back to your skills. And I'll admit, when I started kind of on this journey, solopreneur, uh, I mean, I had all these things about sales. Every time I thought of sales, you think of a used car salesman. I don't know. At least in U.S., I think that's the typical thing that comes to mind. It's like, oh gosh, and you think about maybe you yourself or one of your friends walked away with like a lemon of a car, which was totally trashy, and it just gave you a lot of trouble. And the person, you went back to them and they didn't give you anything, or right. So you've either heard about or experienced one of these things, and that's what you think of sales. But it's not that. Again, I was talking about it earlier. If you have something of value, then sales is a gift. So you should feel good about it, and you should feel really good about becoming being on a journey of becoming a good salesman. And if you think about it, everybody is a salesman. We're selling all the time. When you're talking to your wife and she has a different idea, if she wants to go somewhere else for a vacation and you want to go somewhere else, guess what? You're going to have to sell your idea, right? So if you think about it, we do these micro selling cycles throughout the day. Every single person is a salesman, but we don't realize it, right? So I want you to realize that, and just no, don't have any kind of qualms about it. All right, so we got sidetracked a bit, but yeah, so yeah, you can charge on based on those two factors. What is the value, and what's the value that you, with your ability, can communicate? And that's critical. That's critical, my friend. So yeah, that was an example, Power BI embedded. So yeah, that works well. There are some other ways. I wouldn't go into it yet. Okay. And again, folks on the phone, if you have any questions, just unmute and ask. But I'll give some more love. So Florence likes it. All right, awesome. And hey, of course, so sometime I should have brought this up earlier. I try to now for the folks who, sometimes people get totally bamboozled. Ooh, I like that word. Bamboozled. So by when they step in the talk Power BI, and sometimes I'm showing something and they're like, whoa, this is way too advanced. So folks say, yeah, start off easy, and when I'm not live, then the page right here, it's gonna show the Power BI tutorial, which when I'm live, then you can find it down here. And really, this one is a playlist, but really the main tutorial is the first one on there, which is 60 minutes long, so it's pretty compact. And that's a great place to start. Now, of course, if you want to continue that journey, then that is inside our course, and where we actually, maybe, let me see, I think I have the course up on a different tab. I can a lot of you have probably seen the kind of sneak peek, but yeah, so the tutorial online starts off with what we call the zero to dashboard. So it kind of gives you a lay of the land and everything, and then so it shows you all the pieces, how they fit together, and then we dive deeper into each of the sections. Perfect. Okay, so that's the approach you would take. So of course, you don't have to sign up for my course. You can go whenever you want. Nikolai, yeah, go ahead. Ask away. You can unmute yourself if that works.
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. All right, Nikolai.
Okay,
what do you
perfect.
have in mind?
Okay. The thing is that I usually feel like the sales department is the go-to place if you want to generate a lot of value and insight to your company.
Okay.
But I work for a company that is project-based, and they only get like 20 orders per year,
Yeah.
making huge machinery. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of value to create in the sales department. So what would be the second best place to create value in a project-based company?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So of course, it's interesting. What's the second best place? Boy, so Nikolai, that one is really interesting, and I hope others can chime in too. Oh gosh, hold on. Let me gather my thoughts. So this is kind of really timely because so of course our course has kind of grown over time, and the my most recent initiative is we're working with a small set of folks, and the goal is this. So we call this six figures Power BI consultant, right? So we want to make them super successful. And one thing that I teach in there, and of course I talk about it all the time, which is kind of niching down, finding your niche. And and when I talk about that, I often say, don't do as I do, do as I say. So I'm telling you to go find your niche, kind of small area which you can own and rule, but don't do as I do because I'm kind of a Power BI generalist. But I'm thinking that maybe it's time to change that. I'm thinking of changing. I'm not sure if the main course, but at least this high level course, the Pro Plus that we offer, and maybe we focus just on small businesses and medium businesses. And I was thinking about that if we target that, what do we target? And I was thinking about the same thing, that sales, because sales is everybody kind of gets it. So if a company's systems are in shambles, operations isn't working well, it's crazy. I mean, they have like the 1,000 reports. It's odd, but people still often don't spend money on it. If you go in and say, hey, we can fix it for you, they're not that interested. Again, it depends on the level of pain. But if you tell them, said, hey, we can grow your sales, they're like, tell us how, right? Tell us what you got to offer. So sales, it can be incredibly powerful. Now, of course, I was also thinking, hey, can we focus in on a little bit more? So what I had in mind was folks who are using CRM systems, and of course we can maybe focus just on dynamics. And I was thinking about kind of maybe we can be a little more generic, but of course the thing that I teach about in niche is the narrower you get, the better it is. So that's what I'm thinking about. But that's a great question. So if not sales, then what? Mm, well, uh, oh boy. So I feel so. I'm gonna write out all of them, but the first thing that came to me was marketing. Um, Marketing, yeah, that was a little tricky. So let's talk about that. So there's operations, there's finance, mm, yeah, support. That may be part of this. Uh, yeah, who else is there? Kind of executive
Avi,
dashboards.
su-
Yeah.
supply supply chain, Avi.
Ooh, yes. If they're creating huge machinery, that one has to be there. That seems really interesting. All right, folks. If you think of anything else, let me know. Um, I'm not so. I feel like you might be the best judge, but if I would pick, I would probably not pick operations support. I mean, I have I have spent a lot of time in operations support, and I understand the challenges, and Power BI can help them. But unfortunately, companies are not really focused on that. It's one of those things they only focus on this if it's really bad. Like if they see that, oh, our customer reviews are in the tank or something like that, or yeah. So if things are breaking down, then they focus on this. Now this. So operations and support wouldn't buy first choice. Supply chain, and I think you would be able to judge best if that may be it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I will say so. Yeah, that I don't have that much experience with supply chain, but yeah. So of course, we have students who are focused on that. Um, uh, I do like marketing as well, but I'm not really sure what the dynamic in your company is going to be. Um, Sales and marketing usually go hand in hand, and it's a great combo. Now, finance, it's can benefit in a huge way with Power BI, but again, sometimes finance is cash strapped. They don't have money to spend. It's not always, but sometimes that's the case. So tell me again, you're a consultant, right? So you're kind of helping these companies, or are you working there full time?
I'm working there full time. There are
Okay.
sister companies, so I get loaned
Okay.
out
Okay.
to the other.
Okay. That kind of sounds exciting. Um, um, yeah, and frankly, maybe now I'm thinking that maybe that's. I'm not even sure if that's the best way to kind of approach it. It's like, I mean, also got to think about like maybe if some one of these things appeals to you. So on this list, did something jump out? Did something like, oh yeah, I've already done it and I liked it or didn't like it?
I haven't focused too much on these so far. What I've done so far is worked on procurement because they do a lot of small
Yeah.
purchases instead of bundling them together.
Yeah.
And they often run out of stock to their
Yeah.
service support because they don't
Yeah.
have the minimum inventory set up correctly.
Yeah.
So I've done some analysis work to show you how much transaction are on these items and should there be a minimum stock on this.
Yeah. 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 Got it. Let's see. I mean, I like that. Uh, Minimum stock and bundling orders. Yeah, that sounds like fun stuff. And so, are you in? Were you thinking about sales, or are you in procurement right now, and you're looking kind of for the next step or something?
I'm in procurement and I've moved on to production planning and also trying to give some insight to the projects for the project managers. Because at this point, they only get a number if they overstep their budgets by 100,000. They only get the number. There's no explanation
So
for why.
so tell me that again. What is that number? What
Uh, if they ran over budget on one of their
ah
projects, all they
oh yeah
get
yeah
is, well, you went
yeah
over
yeah
by 100,000. They don't know where did the money go, on which production orders, what was produced on these production
yeah
orders.
yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, I feel like you are into the thick of things. I mean, you are into areas which clearly that you can see that there's some pain points there. There's some trouble spots, and where Power BI can help in a huge way maybe. But sometimes, yeah, and I think you almost gotta kind of read the tea leaves where you can judge where if something has been happening for a long time and you feel like nobody has like cared about it, then you gotta feel your way to say why is that. Now that can happen sometimes because a lot of times people think that it's can't be solved, or they've tried it and it was really hard, so that's why they don't think about it. That's a great situation. If that is the case, then of course you can say, "Oh no, guys, it's actually pretty easy. Look, I did it, and it took me a few days, a week, or whatever." Right? So that one can be overcome. But if it is some other reasons where there's, I don't know, some apathy or some mind block where they are not paying attention to it, then even if it's a pain point, it may not be the one that's worthy to solve. So I feel you're in a good spot. Um, what about procurement, production planning? How long have you been at this company?
This company for 3 months.
Okay, and tell me about before this. Were you around these areas for procurement, production planning? Or was it something totally different? What was your journey before this?
Before this, I was at the sister company
Okay.
primarily, where I did
Ah,
also
okay.
some work on procurement, and I did some
Yeah,
small work on procurement. And at this company, I just took it to a whole
yeah,
other level and make it way better.
brilliant.
And
And
I
how?
also
Yeah,
worked,
go ahead.
yeah, I also worked on something that created a lot of value is showing where the hours went in the company. Because at the company, we need to have 8,000 hours of direct labor on our projects. Otherwise, we won't make a profit. And usually we're just around that. Sometimes we
Mm.
go down to 7,500, and I need to show people where did the rest of the hours go. Did people get sick or injured, or did they go to schools or courses, or did they take too much time off?
So wait, that's really interesting. So what is that 8,000 hour mark? And that's obviously
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's at a company level, or that's at a project level. Every project has to have eight
Uh,
thousand hours.
for the entire company, in order to keep to pay the rent, we need 8,000 hours
Oh,
of
that's a
billable.
minimum mark, of course, and you can go beyond
Yeah,
that. Okay, got
yeah,
it.
of
So,
course.
global, and that's man, I can't do the math. That's in a year. What time frame is that?
It's per month.
Per month. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay. And
we get
yeah,
a
so
we get around We get around
Brilliant.
10,000 hours, so I need to show where the 2,500 hours were spent on indirect activities
Yeah.
or
Hold on.
otherwise.
Oh, hold on. My son is here. What up? All right. He's such a nice guy. His school is finally done. He's making eggs for me. All right, cool. So globally times a month. So is it that so some companies, every work they do is kind of built out to the client in some way. Is it like that? Otherwise,
No, no.
so it doesn't make sense. Then ours don't equate to whether we can pay the rent or not, right? I mean,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
can
It's
say
just
that,
a
oh,
rough
everybody is
estimation.
working 80 hours, but if you're not productive, then you're still not going to be
Sure,
paid the
sure,
rent.
sure,
Okay,
sure,
but
sure.
but you're using that as a kind of a, got it, as kind of a estimate that if you're not okay. Yeah, that is really interesting. Um, Frankly, I'm a little bit hesitant because and again, it depends on how it's executed. But the example that I'm thinking of is, I think it was taught to us in like the Six Sigma course, where they talked about be careful of kind of what you measure, the KPIs. And the classic example they used was at a call center, and 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 uh, and if you go in there and you measure like how long does each call last, right? And 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 that's all. If that's all you measure, then basically you have incentivized your call center folks to pretty much hang up on on your customers. So
Yes.
so yeah. So if but yeah, but again, it's all about execution. It's all about how you balance with that metric. So got it. So you help them in there as well. So tell me, how long were you at the sister company?
About a year. I'm still there.
Okay. Uh,
Uh,
but now you're helping everybody else as well, right? You being loaned
yeah,
out,
yeah.
yeah. So kind of company wide level. So you were there about one year, and now in the since the last 3 months you've been in this role. So boy, tell me your journey before that. Then tell me a little bit about the areas you're working in.
Before,
Yeah.
I just graduated last year.
Okay, great, perfect, perfect. I really feel now this is a great question, Nikolai. And it actually even goes back to who was asking. I should have put the name here. So Florence was asking this one. Ansgar was asking this one. So Florence, if you're still on, this is really really topical. So um, which business area to? So for one, in general, I do feel like let's do this. Let's do. I do feel like you shouldn't be a generalist. You should be a specialist. And again, we talked
Hmm.
about niche. The more you niche down, the better it is, and and so forth, right? So let me think about it. So, oh gosh, um, hold on. Let me get a beat on this. Having said that, you can always transform yourself. Just because you specialize in something is not a death sentence. And in fact, um, there is a skill to it. There's a skill to it of going from one realm to the other. And I've heard from many coaches. One of them is James Whitaker. It's such a pity that that guy works in Microsoft, because I think the day he leaves, he's going to start sharing more kind of outside. But right now, I heard him speak inside Microsoft. He does speak publicly as well, but it's not as much. He's brilliant, and if you follow his journey, he has this amazing journey where he mastered or became kind of the world renowned expert, almost a number one in different fields. And I don't know. I know security was one stop for him, right? And so computer security, that sort of stuff, and then what was the other stop for him? Cloud was another stop, and there was one before that which actually he really mastered in, and I forget what it was. And you see it, and it's brilliant, right? It's the way he transitioned there. So choosing a specialty is not a death sentence. You can do it. In fact, you can do it really well. I'll give you one other example. One example, folks. So I'll start with a caveat. And oops. And this is to everybody else who's watching. What happened to my screen? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Let's try that again. Okay, so I talk about the pyramid, and people are so fixated on what they feel that, oh, I'm way down here, and I gotta be kind of up here or up here, and that's just BS. Doesn't matter where you are, and usually people underestimate where they are. Usually they're higher up than they think, but it doesn't matter. Even if you took the first step, if you learned about Power BI yesterday, then you can be helping people who don't know about Power BI. So yeah, you can help people around there. So, but having said that, when I look up, as far as I know, those guys are pretty close to the top. Maybe not at the top, but that's the SQL BI folks. So SQL BI folks. So let's talk about experts, specialists. Cool. So SQL BI folks, and of course this is Marco Russo, Alberto Ferrari, and these guys are brilliant. And I'll admit, freely guys, earlier I would be hesitant in saying this, but I don't understand a lot of this stuff. I go on the blogs and I don't understand it, and I think it's okay. I've made peace with it because my thing is that I don't want to. I know that I can't solve every Power BI problem out there because clearly I see these guys solving stuff which I can't understand, but I would say that there hasn't been a business problem that I haven't been able to solve. I wrote my first DAX measure in 2009, and from there till now, worked with a lot of companies, a lot of students, clients. Any business problem I've been able to solve. So I think that's okay. But if we talk about these folks, when I was starting out in my journey, I met with them at a conference, and I said, guys, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because people look at me as the expert, but then I look at your stuff and I feel like a baby, right? So, and they are so humble and kind. So, guys, what their story is that. So I sometimes say Power BI is a new technology which is 20 years old. And I say that when I'm teaching Power BI to make the connection that Power BI, if you look at the legacy, it's built on other technologies. Now they repackaged it and all that stuff. They made it easier. There's a lot of stuff going on in Power BI, right, which is awesome. But basically, if you think about the technologies that it sits on, what was the precursor of DAX? It was MDX, right? So before, and MDX had been around for a long time. And again, if you think about all the other things that Power BI sits on, right, this idea of a cube and the SQL Server Analysis Server, which basically now they made two versions of it. There was this SSAS multidimensional for a long time. That's what used the MDX language, and all of these other technologies. And again, it's just 20 years old, right? So and so what they said was, Avi, this is not new to us, right? I mean, we took our skills in that old world and transitioned into the new thing, and that's the key to this, right? So the way to go become the number one expert in security, to be the number one in cloud, is to see how much skills you can transition over, and it's always a heck of a lot more than you imagine. And for here, I would refer you to another expert of mine. I forget his I think it's Richard Bolles. I think that's his name. But the book name is What Color Is Your Parachute? I would highly recommend it. And it specifically talks about this transitioning thing. Cool. So having said that, so specialist isn't a death sentence. You can always change it. And so having said that, for you, Nikolai, I feel like procurement and directly around it, production planning, you should just stay there. You've already spent some time in it, built some amazing expertise. Just go as deep as you can. And clearly at your company, it seems you have a good runway ahead of you. It seems you're being valued. That's why they kind of made you this loner consultant who's kind of helping all over.
Yeah.
So that would be my immediate advice to you. And I had to give this background just to let you know that it's whenever you feel there's look, I'm interested in this, then you can transition over. But yeah, do it right. Do it kind of the James Whitaker SQL BI folks way, where you bring that with you. And it's pretty possible. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, it did very much.
Okay, perfect. All right, folks. So thank you, Nikolai, for that question. That was awesome. Florence, if you're on, I hope you got some value out of it too. So I'll speak a little bit about the niche that I talked about. So the way, and frankly, guys, there's one question, this fundamental question that I often think about, which is this: is the 9 to 5 job, is it fundamentally different than consulting? And I'm not really sure. So of course we've talked about that before in the Talk Power BI, and where I said that it's different externally, but it's the same internally, because internally you gotta go through the same journey, right? And outer success is just a reflection of your inner success. So if you feel complete, whole, if you feel filled with power, love, peace, happiness, it's just gonna radiate outwards. It's gonna start reflecting on outer world. So inner journey is the same, and yeah, so of course I kind of learned it the hard way, because I thought that I stepped away from the rat race. Oh, I'm free, freedom, and I've talked about how I was struggling to get in Microsoft. They had levels, so the title frankly didn't matter, but they had like, oh, if you're level 60, then everybody was trying to be level 61 and then 62. So it was this thing, and you couldn't avoid it. That was it. If you were in that game, that was the way the game was played in Microsoft. So if you were stuck at 60 for more than 3 years, there was something wrong with you. If you would go interview for another department, for another job, they would kind of ask you about it. Like, dude, what happened? You've been there, and God forbid if you ended up in the same spot for like 5 or more years, then pretty much everybody knew that, oh, he's probably there is something wrong with him. So so that was a rat race, but I stepped away from that, and I'm like, no, and for a while I really struggled. I was really focused on money. Oh gosh, that time was hard, folks. So it was hard. It felt like a punch to the gut. It was so painful. I mean, I think it physically affected me. Of course, I was depressed, but I couldn't get over it, and I left my job because, well, I wanted to pursue this path. But I was just thinking about, hey, would I be able to pay the mortgage and all this worry stuff? And I kind of overcame that, and I feel like money is one of those things. I feel the more you chase it, the more it goes away. And if you think about others and service and how can I serve others, it's kind of like a side effect. It just happens. And yeah, money is good. There's nothing wrong with earning more money. So I had overcame that as well. So I'm like, cool. Now I'm really away from the rat race, right? So actually, let's call this checkpoint. This one. I don't know when I started. Maybe 11:05, probably earlier. 11:03, let's say. So a rat race. All right. So here, so yeah, I kind of escaped it twice. Microsoft, it was all about levels, and then I would kind of fixate it on the money, and then I got caught again without even realizing that I was being caught, because I was in company of these entrepreneurs who were so money. We understand that this can be a measure for impact, and impact is awesome. We should have more impact, but what I was seeing was how these people grow. I mean, it's all relative, right? So I crossed 25,000 subscribers recently, but when I talk to my son's friends and I say I'm a YouTuber, they kind of get excited, but then they first of all look at my channel and they say, man, this is boring. I don't know. They expect that I'm a gamer or something when they hear I'm a YouTuber. So yeah, they say that I'm boring, but they also I mean, in their minds, I'm not a huge deal at all, because most of the folks they follow, they have millions of followers. So yeah, so without even realizing it, I was caught in the rat race of impact. I saw, oh, look, these people are having such big impact. I mean, look at their followers and all of that sort of stuff. And of course, I caught myself, and I realized that I have to do what I need to do. I don't need to do like somebody else. I can have bigger impact, but there are different ways to have a bigger impact. One way is to go deeper, and of course, that's what I'm trying to do with a new program, right? The 6 Figures Power BI Professional. It's a very small group. Last time we were 10 people. This time there may be close to 20. We'll see. So we block the the meeting booking and stuff, because frankly I gotta pack for my Banff trip tomorrow. We're headed to Banff. We're excited. So yeah, I needed to leave some time for me for packing. So we ran out of time for that, but there are folks who are still have calls booked for today. So we're looking forward to that. All right, great. So actually, I apologize. I kind of forgot what I was talking about. Let me see if I can pick up that thread again. Niche. Oh yeah, niche. So niche is critically important. Rat race. Let's label it rat race and niche. So I want to do a mini lesson on niche. So you well, frankly, the lesson is really mini. So you niche down till you're uncomfortable. And as I said, guys, I'm trying to eat, kind of take my own medicine. So I told this to others, but now that I'm thinking about it, it didn't seem authentic because I was not doing it. I am not doing it right now. When I have niche down some, for example, this program initially when I offered, it wasn't clear whether I was helping people who wanted to stay in their full-time jobs or who wanted to leave that and become consultants. And now I have clarity. But for now, I'm focusing on people who wanna be consultants. So I have, so I've narrowed down. But again, I'm thinking of narrowing down even more. I'm saying, can we make this program about people who want to help others and they want to focus on small business, medium businesses? So again, I talk to a lot of people and there's a lot of joy in this. So somebody was talking about helping a small dairy farmer, pretty much. I was going to say dairy company, but yeah, it was pretty much like a dairy farming outfit, and he has so much joy in that. And some people may think that, and yeah, I'm not saying, and this is unrelated to money. So if you think that, oh, I'm going to make less and help more people, I think those two things are not related. I think we confuse that. Money is something else, right? And if you've talked about that before, kind of the sales, that's it about, can you deliver value? And frankly, sometimes when I think about the engagements that I've had with companies, and anybody who has done Power BI would probably feel the same, that the value you provide, it cannot be measured. So sometimes we spend 2 or 3 days and they're just paying us, it's even if it's like $10,000-$20,000 for a few days, it's nothing compared to what you build. And one story that I've shared with others, which was really powerful for me, was that we were at the end of a 3-day engagement, and as I was finally kind of wrapping up and kind of showing them stuff, they started clapping. And man, I kind of turned red. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they clapping? And later I found out that what we had built in 3 days, they had been talking about it for a year. Just never made any progress talking about it, right? So the value is immense. Another story that I've heard is, and boy, this was somebody who ran into at the Power BI conference last year, and yeah, they were pretty reliable. So I know they were pretty high up in the leadership in that company, and they talked about this $4 billion with a B, $4 billion project, which lasted 3 years, and they created 0 reports. And that's not the only one, right? So these things are all around. So again, compare that with Power BI. Power BI is incredible value. So right, so and again, there's that value, and then hey, can you be a good salesman? And again, first thing you got to get out of your head is that sales is a bad thing. Sales is not a bad thing. Sales is a gift, as long as you're not selling Coca-Cola loaded with sugar to young kids in schools. Okay, was there any Coca-Cola fans? Then ignore me. Of course, I hope Matt Allington is not listening. He spent a lot of time at Coca-Cola. Cool. So come back here. So niche down till you're uncomfortable. So again, so I'm trying to do the same, and we're thinking, how narrow can we go? And boy, yeah. So I'm thinking, maybe even not even medium business, maybe even small business. Now, frankly, I'm struggling here because I researched this and there seems to be no clear definition of a small and medium business. So we'll think about that. Small and medium business. Now, the odd thing is that even oddly enough, when I work with really large companies, in a way, I'm still working with a small business because I often engage with small teams within that large company. So we'll see, And then again, my feel is that we focus on CRM frequency dynamics. But again, think about this 10 or 20 people, and the next time we start this group, we say that, hey, we are about this. Now, again, niche, when you think about niching down, it feels uncomfortable. In fact, it feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Right? So people think about this stuff where, oh, cast a wide net and all this bullshit. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's a horrible idea. Horrible idea. Because when you're trying to be everything to everybody or nothing to nobody, that kind of thing, it's just, yeah, it doesn't work that way. And people don't believe you, and you say, oh yeah, I can do this and I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. I'm like, really? But think about the other one. If you are niche down, so I'm still working on this, so I'm going to ignore that. But the example that we used was this lady who's inside our program, and we talked to her, and I may not be able to recreate it exactly, but it was something like a consumer packaged good, CPG, but she was already focused on fast moving consumer packaged goods. So we said, got it. And then he said, oh, but folks who are selling it online, folks who have been running their business for 3 to 5 years. So they're kind of new, and who revenue is up, but not profit. Right? So yeah. And I think we may have narrowed it down even more. So you see how narrow we get? And again, if you start feeling uncomfortable, it's like, oh my gosh, there are going to be like 3 people out there like that. And what if they don't like me? Like, what if they don't hire me? Then I'm screwed. I have no customers. So it should probably feel a little bit uncomfortable. But what happens here? If you get to this narrow level, for when your messaging, your mission becomes really clear. Right? So, and messaging is core to marketing. So people, when thinking about marketing, advertising, they're like, oh, I'm just going to go out there and just say, hey, people, come to my store, come to my store. It seemed like that. It's not about that. You have to go there with a message, my friend. That's when they will listen. But when you have such clarity, you're going to have a message. So folks, by the way, this program, this new program, this is obviously beyond Power BI, and because I feel that this is where the important stuff is, and of course we're kind of covering that a little bit here. Okay, cool. So messaging is important. So let's think about this example. So if you're CPG, fast moving online, running profit, what kind of messaging you can have? So you can say something like this. You can say, hey, have you I don't know, is your company growing, but you are not, right? I mean, is your company growing, but you are struggling? Oh, I like that. Does it feel like your company is successful, but you're not, right? I mean, you can play so much. So that would be kind of the opening line, just get their attention. And then, of course, once you have that, you kind of go deeper and say, well, if you run a fast-moving consumer packaged goods online company, and you've been in business for a few years, but you've seen your revenues grow, but not profits, and you've been wondering why, then I have something for you. Then talk to me. And now here's what I want you to do. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of that person who's running the fast-moving consumer packaged goods company online, has been in business for a few years, has seen the revenue grow, probably have worked really long hours. They put in the effort for sure, right? But they haven't seen their profits grow. When you hear this message, it's as if the skies had parted, my friend. That's what it sounds like. And that's the power of niching down. That person would be like, whoa, right? So that's the power of niching down. You get their attention. And frankly, in this world and age, right, cell phones and all that stuff, that's the number one thing you're fighting for. You gotta get their attention first. If you can't get that, you can't do anything else, right? So you gotta get their attention. And the odd thing this is the odd thing about niche, is that when you say I'm an expert at everything, then nobody believes you. But if you say, no, I'm not an expert at everything, I'm really about this, then once they find you, and once they do become a customer, then they trust you with everything, right? And it's weird, right? So people would like I do Power BI and have, frankly, BI wise, I definitely have a narrow focus because people sometimes ask me, hey, do you do Tableau? You should do Tableau. You should do other stuff, click view and da da da, and compare all the tools and whatnot. And man, it's gonna really then again that the whole idea of cast a wide net. Like, boy, think about the reach you can have then. And I'm like, no, thank you, right? So, but but people once they kind of become my customer, then they do ask me like, Avi, do you? Oh, people ask me like, Avi, can you design a custom visual for us? And I'm like, holy moly, you're kidding me? No way, that's not me. I never thought about it, right? So things like that. So and they go beyond that. I mean, people would ask me about SharePoint and something else. So again, the same thing happens here. They start working with you and then say, oh, great, man, you've been so helpful here. Can you do that as well? And again, of course, you're going to be genuine, but if you think you can, then you'll say, yep, sure, I have done that for myself or other businesses, and it always comes up. So often what happens is you get this kind of proximity effect, right? So I talked about earlier, we were talking about these things, and if you think about a business, I mean, all pieces are kind of connected anyway, right? So I mean, sales is very connected to marketing, but finance has a deep interest in sales and marketing, right? And obviously executive team cares and so forth. And so yeah, a lot of things, operations and support and supply chain can be connected, or finance and supply chain can be connected. So often what you would find is maybe let's go back to Nikolai's example. So that was brilliant, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk to Nikolai and hear his incredible journey and think about the impact that this guy's having, right? I mean, pretty incredible. I'm like, go back in your career, and he's like, I graduated. And I'm like, okay, brilliant, all right. So think about his journey, right? So he procurement. And again, he was working in it seemed like a sister company, small company, but now he's operating kind of across this umbrella of companies at his place, and then you go kind of to the next thing, production planning. Yeah. So again, oh boy, this I didn't even realize what I walked into is this thing about the question that I was saying, that the difference between 9 to 5 versus consulting, and is it the same, is it the different? And I talked about how kind of externally different, internally is the same, but here maybe there's the same pattern. So I walked into this because when I was talking about niche, part of me was thinking that, hey, this doesn't apply to full-time people as much, and all of this messaging stuff, it doesn't apply. But I don't know, maybe it does. And again, in this day and age, I think everybody. So that phrase has been around for a long time, right? I mean, you should act like a CEO. It doesn't matter what your role is, you should act like your own CEO. And there's merit to that. But somehow what resonates more with me is that whole branding thing. And again, I mean, you don't see yourself as a brand, but you are. Or, well, I think you are, you don't realize it, but what if you not only realized it, but you actively worked on it, right? So think about what companies do. What do companies do to build their brand? They do a lot of things, right? So again, there's this, how, man, this is kind of weird. We're getting really metaphysical here. So the thought that I'm having is this. So 11:24. Hey, let me check my appointments. Okay, I've got time. So isn't it kind of weird that the way an atom looks is really similar to a solar system? It's weird, right? How could something that small be similar in structure with this bigger thing? Yeah, but it's I feel like these things apply to companies, right? That's a solar system. But when we look at ourselves, the atom, the structure is the same. So if you're talking about branding, and if you believe that in this day and age that is important, that can make a difference. So again, what I contrast is 16 years I was working full time at one of the other companies. What did it get me? Not much. I mean, I was paid well, uh, and I feel blessed about that. But every time layoffs came, I was a little scared, even after all the awesome work that I'd done with Power BI. Frankly, I had been laid off once, and I realized that it's kind of like an axe falling, and the axe doesn't discriminate. It just falls where it falls, and then if you're on this side, you're laid off, you're gone. It doesn't matter if you're a good worker or not. And if you're this side, doesn't matter if you're a good worker or not. You get to stay, right? So it's that. So I was, yeah. So 16 years, that's where I was. And of course, I saw people in Microsoft being laid off after being there 20 plus years, and they would be in tears because they were distraught. They wouldn't know what to do. Um, and I contrast this with 2 years in this life, right? So if you believe in that, if you believe that that you got to build your brand, the brand, right? Then again, this think about the atom and the universe. So the universe, the solar system, maybe, right, is this world. There is supply chain, marketing, finance, executive, and so forth. And I'm not really sure, but I think I read somewhere that basically, if you think about it fundamentally, every company is kind of sales and marketing driven. Actually, that's not true. I think some companies. I know Microsoft for a long time was driven by essentially kind of their production. So basically, the engineers, which may or may not have been a good thing. It served them for a while, but then it stopped working. And then of course Apple came along, and then you saw Steve Jobs doing a brilliant work of kind of the marketing and so forth. So I'm not sure, but anyway, so sales and marketing certainly is core functions. If you were building your own brand, what do you got to do? You gotta have sales and marketing, right? So and again, we're always selling, so you gotta have that. I'm not really sure about supply chain, but finance, I think that's like a core function. I mean, you gotta take care of finance. If you so money is a funny thing, right? I mean, so for the finance, for the personal level. So again, we're comparing atom universe, right? So on a personal level, what I read somewhere was that $70,000 in US, and they said 20K outside of US. And I'm not sure why they average the whole world, because the whole world is Europe and everybody else, but maybe Europe is closer to US. So at this point, after this point, your happiness gets disconnected with money. 70K, you can kind of keep increasing it, and you can get caught in that trap where you feel like, no, man, once I earn 300,000, I'm going to be all set. But it's actually not true. You're never going to be fully satisfied. But if you're below that mark, then money can be related to happiness. I mean, if you're really truly struggling to put food on the table because you don't have enough money, well, guess what? I mean, money is like directly correlated to happiness. So feeding myself and my kids is definitely gonna bring happiness. But so yeah, I think you gotta kind of take care of that. Yeah, again, I'm still kind of debating this in my head, but finance, I don't think that drives me in my personal life, but I do want that to be taken care of. Take care of yourself first. Sales and marketing is key. Executive, and again, you should think about that. I mean, once a year, you think about, hey, where you're headed, what do you want to do? And again, as I said, I catch myself sometimes where I was caught in a rat race. You need to have moments like this. So you need like an executive thinking as well, right? So where was the part that I was talking about? Anyway, rat race, right? Yeah, so I was talking about rat race and how to catch myself. So that's kind of the executive direction, me setting the direction. Like, nope, I'm going to have impact, but I'm going to create impact my way. I'm going to do it with a small group, with a deeper impact, rather than trying to reach more and more and more. So anyway, so there are these functions here which I think may apply. And again, maybe there's not like a direct correlation. There is some connection there. So if you are the brand, then whatever kind of works as a company, think about that. So what does a company do? Think about the good brand. Think about the brands you do respect and trust and value and are very aware. Like obviously, when you think about photocopy, what brand comes to mind? Even though, I mean, yeah, photocopy, yeah, it's Xerox, of course, right? So think about that. So what does that take? And think about again the kind of the brands you trust, and think about the ones that are kind of memorable and sticky. So what if I say nationwide? Do you play that jingle in your head? Right? So think like that, right? So and again, so that's what personal branding can be about, is to define that niche and fucking own it, right? So when I say photocopy, you think Xerox. When I say nationwide, you play that jingle in your head. What if I say fast-moving CPG companies who are online for 3 to 5 years, and you're not, I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny example, but maybe what if they start thinking of you? Then you've created the brand, right? That's pretty awesome. All right, folks. So we'll call it a day for today. Let me check in if there are any last things. Boy, Mukund. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, Loretta Sue had a question. Oh well, why not? Let's take a few Power BI questions. So can we take a look at the weekday formula payroll roster based on start and end date? So Loretta Sue, are you able to? Oh gosh, I forget what we had done, where we had left it at. Had we solved it? Had we not solved it? Had I just given you guideline? And are you able to call in? If you call in, that'll make things a whole lot easier. Let me see. All right, Mukund, we're live as well. I'll see. Are you going to be able to call in? And it seems you're having trouble with some top NN percentage. Let's open that. Open the phone line. Special. Okay, so for Loretta Sue, if she's still on, I'm gonna put a link there. Okay, awesome. So Loretta Sue, yeah, try our special pass link and dial in from there. So Mukund, hang on. We'll get a hold of you. So Loretta Sue, what I'm gonna do is pull up the notes that I had for our last call. So it was an interesting problem. So we were focused on net work days. So we'll say 1132. Let's see. Did we have that? Oh yeah. Oh shoot, now I remember. Yeah, I hadn't solved it. I got stuck because you had the start date and end date, and I couldn't solve it. So sum X records, calculate count rows. Boom. Calculate count rows. Okay, let's try this. Is the filter context there? Sorry guys, I'll give you a background on this. Yeah. Okay, so let me use that time to create the background for this. But
Okay, hi.
hey, Laura Sue, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Terrific. All right, so yeah, let me help everybody kind of catch up. So the idea was that how can we count working days in a period, and usually it's kind of really simple. And what you do is you create a flag in here, and this again we augmented our ultimate calendar table. You can grab that if you go on my channel, youtube.com/PowerBIPro, and we just added this number, working day 1 to 3, and let me see. It's sorted in a weird way. So here we go. You can see here we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday. And if you go, so this is working day 111, and then we have 00. And of course, this can account for holidays and all that stuff as well. So you can feed it a own calendar table. And once you have that, then it's is, let's see, so I think we've done it on the other one. Then counting the network days is easy. So let me write two simple measures here. So one will say count days equals just count rows in the calendar. And then we'll say count working days, and we'll say calculate the count days measure where working day equals 1. Okay, so I think that worked, and let's go by month, and let's do this. So we say size. All right, so yeah, focus on this guy. And here we're gonna add both count days and count working days, and I'm just gonna filter it down to a single year. 2019, let's try that. Oh, but this is not happy with me. What's wrong? Oh, okay, it's the wrong data type. Let me change that. Calendar. And we'll change this to true false. Will this work? I'm not sure. Okay, let's try it. Oh, so close. What happened here? Oh gosh, so yeah, true false was a bad idea. I should have left it as well, actually I guess I can change it. Calendar, I'm going to change that to a number. All right, so yeah, you can see for 2019, this year, we have the days and the working days. So that sets the framework for working days, but then we really wanted to have maybe like an employee's start and end date, and we wanted to calculate the working days between these two dates. Let me see. So net working count working days. Okay, let's try that. Maybe I'll try a new measure. Let's see. So what if we say modeling new measure. Okay, so I'm gonna say this is my net work days from start to end measure. Okay, so first of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the start date. So where start date, can I just say start date equals I'll say selected value of start, record start. I have that, and then I have, maybe I'll start this on a new line. So start date, and then I'll say end date is same thing, selected value of records end. Perfect. So once I have that, then I can say what I would like to return is, I already have a measure which counts the net working days. I already have this one, but this returns it for all the calendar, the complete calendar. I would like to filter it down. So calculate count working days, where the calendar date has to be greater than or equal to start date. Okay, and calendar date has to be less than equal to end date. Okay, I think that sounds good to me. Turn calculate da 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 da. All right, cool. So hit enter, and I want to use a few. Hold on, let me get. Okay, got that. So to test this though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some dates where I know what the answer would be. So let's use maybe, what if we say June 3 to June 5. So I don't have any holidays, so it's just weekdays and weekends. So that should be networking days. Well, that'll actually be 3 days. It's going to count both ends. At least that's the logic we have. We can change that, of course. Next, what if I say June 6 to June 10? Let's try that. So again, it's going to count. It's going to count 6. It's going to count 7. It's not going to count 8 or 9, and it is going to count 10. So again, that's the structure we have. So this should also be 3 days. Maybe you can have some fun with it. At least have it be slightly different. So 5, and that's going to make. Actually, that's fine. So June 3 to 5, June 6 to 10. Let's test that out. So we're going to go to our model, and I'm going to change the data. So we have records. So you want June 3 to 5, 6 to 10. Perfect. So June 3, 2019. June 5, 2019. June 6, 2019 to 6/10, 2019. Okay. And I go back. Oh, okay. Doesn't apply. And go back to the model. All right, let's see. So we have these dates, and hold on, let me make them kind of smaller. There we go. And start short date and short date. And yeah, so we're gonna focus on this, and let's see if it works. Bingo. All right. So so Loretta, so
Okay.
this is not complete yet, but this is progress, right? I mean, this seems to be
Yes.
doing it right so far. So it's not complete because if you notice, the total is blank. right? So that's the part we need to fix, but that one is okay, and I'm glad. So folks, last time, we were on a private consulting call, and and we had 30 minutes, and I was scrambling at the end, and I couldn't get it right. And one of the things was that I tried to write this big formula. Frankly, this is big for me, and now I've seen DAX, which is like pages long, and I think you have to love pain if you if you write those. Okay, maybe, right? But I'm glad today I took the time to do it the way I always do it. So again, we were talking about earlier, where is DAX hard? I don't think it's hard, right? It's just Lego blocks. And so this time I wasn't scrambling. I didn't have that 30-minute clock on my head, and of course, I knew that hadn't worked last time. So I built it in steps and slow steps, and there's one step still missing. But you saw how I start really slow, and I love starting here. In fact, everything in the model should start here, either with a sum or count rows. Everything should start here. All models should start here. And there's amazing stuff you can do just with sum and count rows. So if I'm building a new model, I just do a sum, and of course then I slice and dice it 10 different ways. So just with sales, you can paint something really beautiful. And of course, Power BI makes it interactive to begin with. It's always interactive, and that can blow people away. So yeah, that's the start. That's easy. It doesn't get easy into that. So you start there, but then again, when you're building complex stuff, then you just build it in Lego blocks. You say, hey, kind of count rows this. So I did that first thing, and then I said, okay, now I want to calculate working days only. So I said, hey, hey, Loretta, so I'm gonna put you on mute. But you can just unmute yourself if you need to chat again. All right, so then I said, well, so again, I'm reusing. I'm a huge believer in reuse. So again, Lego blocks, right? I had one Lego block, something built, and I'm going to reusing that. So I said, okay, now I want you to go calculate count days. I already have count days, but then I want you to filter it to only working days. Great. So now I got the count working days. And then, of course, I use that to build my next measure. So, okay, now we're calculating net work days, and I already have that working, right? I mean, I saw that working. It said, yep, in February there were 20 working days. So I know that one is working. So I'm going to do the next Lego block. I'm going to build something else from it. And I said, okay, cool. So if I know how to calculate net working days, the only thing that's different here is net work days between what? And go away, please. Okay, there we go. Right. So again, I mean, I figured out. So human learning comes before machine learning, right? So you train the human, and then you just teach how to teach the same thing to Power BI. It's as easy as that, right? So here, I first said, hey, how am I going to count days? And that was count rows. That was simple. And I said, okay, well, how do I count working days? Well, if we go do the count days, do it the same way we're doing count days, but I only count it if working day is 1, right? So if it's 0, I'm going to skip it, right? So again, that's how a human would do it, and that's to count working days. And then I said, oh, cool, now I know how to count working days. Now, if I knew how to count working days, and somebody gave me a start and end date, what would I do? Well, that's easy, right? I mean, I would just look at each one and say, okay, well, so I'll do this count working days thing, but instead of it come from the calendar table or something, I'll just say, no, do this thing, but between these two dates. And that's what I did for my third measure. Okay, so let's go over there. And that's exactly what the measure is. So it's okay, cool. Now I already know how to count working days, and all I need to do is count it between this range. So I kind of fed that. So now let's solve the next layer, which is the total isn't working. Now, of course, this is the fun part, which I really enjoy doing. Is like, hey, why isn't it working? All right, so I'll let you ponder over that. Why doesn't it work? And it happens in a few cases, but I know how to solve it. Right, so basically, it's not working because what I've taught the machine to do, it doesn't apply at the total level. It only applies at this record by record level. So I'm going to write the next layer, and I'll say, I'll copy this name, and I'll say, let's do a new measure, and it's coming up. Come on, I knew I clicked it. Yes, cool. So network days. Network days and I'll say for each employee, each record doesn't matter. Each record, whatever that is, each employee. Let's go that. So network days for each employee, and then again, I know how to calculate it for each employee. I already know that. Maybe this should say all employees. All employees. Okay, forget it. Let's take it to win that name. Actually, no. You know what? What do we call it? Network days. Network days. Something. Network days. So one is network days, and this one is. I don't know, let's say all records. Okay, so now we already know how to do it employee by employee, and now we just need to kind of add them up. So again, human learning, machine learning, simple, right? So we already know how to do employee by employee, so that means an iterator in my mind. X functions are the iterators class. So I'm going to say, let's do some X. And I really wish that I could write X functions differently, because the sum happens in the end. It's the X, the iteration, that comes first, but unfortunately you can't write it that way. But anyways, sum X. So what are we going to iterate over? We're going to iterate over a records table. Records, sorry, not that. Records, perfect. So we're going to go row by row. And then, again, remember, we've already solved it for the per employee person. So I'll just reuse that thing. Network days from start to end. That's it. So I'll say go record by record, and then calculate this and sum it up. Simple, right? Lego blocks. Okay, well, actually, I should see that first it works. I've learned my lessons to not celebrate too early. Okay, so this one, again, wasn't working, so let's add this guy in there. And, whoo, voila. All right, so yeah, you can see how we kind of built this up over time. So we started with this Lego block, combine it, Lego block, Lego block, Lego block. All right, so we're going to save this file to our Talk Power BI folder. Loretta Sue, I'll just send you a direct link. You probably saw what I was doing anyway, but I'll make sure you have it. So, and folks, if you want to get this file, then just go to talkpowerbi.com to 2019 files, and we're going to say this is 2019. And network days. Okay, let's see. So yeah, if you guys go and sign up on talkpowerbi.com, you get access to the notes, the files, and everything. And I'll just send that. So Loretta, so I'm going to put that in the chat window. And that opens up
Thank you.
to like all files. You just go to the 2019 folder and maybe sort it by most recent, and this file would pop up at the top. That was
Thank
great.
you for taking the time, Avi.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'm glad I kind of stumbled and failed once and came back and did it. That always feels good. And again, guys, you saw the whole learn, do, fail, win cycle in action. And again, I'm still in that cycle. That never ends, never gets old. It's the way to go. All right, great. So let's see. I know I promised Mukund on a top N. So Mukund, let's have you call in. So for our YouTube friends, I actually use a different call-in. So let me activate that. And so let's see. Oh yeah, that's the same one. And hey guys, I'm thinking about packing for Banff. It's tomorrow, so we'll probably have Mukund's question be the last one. Okay, let's go there, and let's go here. Calling is on. We're in business, my friends. Actually, not yet. It's launching. Any minute now. All right, we are live. We're live there. And so Mukund, so frankly, I never even asked you. do you have the ability to dial in? Because frankly, at this point, yeah, the question you have, if you can dial in to that link, and it may take some time. If you have never used Zoom, it would ask you to install in something. Meanwhile, I'll try to study your question and see, wait for you. Okay. All right. I got you, McGinn. Got you, my friend. Let's do this. Oh, we never got to Ankit's and Mohammed's question. I apologize, guys. Yeah, and frankly, you know what? I wouldn't apologize. Frankly, this, I'm unable to do kind of first in, first out. It really, whoever pops up. So, yeah, that's the best effort. And of course, the students in the Learn Power BI program, they kind of have an advantage. They're on the phone with me. They can just speak up. Okay, cool. So let's go here, LM56. Let's see if we can help. Placeholder, parking lot. We couldn't really get to it. Okay, cool. So let's go here, and I'm gonna put Mukun's question here. Okay, and let me check. Oh shoot, what? It's no, there shouldn't be a password. Hold on. Why is there a password? Hold on. Let me try something else. I would have to. Okay, got it. Oh. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why I had set up a password. Oh well, let's try. Sorry, I'm going to send you a new link. I'm not really getting why. Sorry, man. Let's have you try again. I know I was fiddling around in this, but yeah, it really shouldn't be a password. How do I? Oh, okay. Just give me a second. Let me get in there. Maybe. Let me try a different meeting. Okay, this one is looking good. All right, so ignore what I said earlier. Try this one. And I'm pretty confident it's gonna work. Okay, hey, what I would warn you is that make sure you well, once you join, mute me on YouTube. Close the window, mute the tab, something. So what Mukund is having trouble with is top N and percentage of total. All right, we have a guest, Mukund. Actually, it doesn't seem you have audio yet. Um, on Zoom again. Make sure to mute me on YouTube. Hi there.
Yeah. Hi, Avi.
Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing amazing. So hey, actually, before we dive in, tell us a bit about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I am Mukund and I'm currently working in Accenture with around 4 years of experience.
All right.
So earlier I was working in Tableau
Uh huh.
mostly,
Yeah.
Tableau, Oracle, BI. So now I am also working
Wow.
on Power BI. So there is some of the projects where I am trying to migrate some reports to Power BI from
Yeah.
Tableau. So
Perfect.
yeah,
That's great. So it seems like you're doing top N and percentage of total, right?
yeah.
So
So,
top
so
N. Yeah.
the issue that I am facing is, for example, if I apply a filter on, for example, like if I apply a visual filter and I want to do a top N.
Yeah.
So top N, and I want to retain the percentage of total also. So I guess
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
DAX function needs to be put there. So
Yeah.
somehow I'm not able to achieve it.
Yeah. So you want to do top N and you want to do percentage of total.
Yeah,
Um, so when you say top N, are you talking about? Actually, hold on. Let me share my screen on Zoom as well. This one, I think. Yes. Okay. Let me know if you can see the Power BI report in the Zoom call.
yeah, I'm able to see.
Got it. So here, I'm not sure if I have top N, but let me just add it really quick. Mm, mm, mm. Come on, Power BI. Okay, great. So let me go to this guy,
Oh,
and so is it when you talk about top N? Is it this? Is it the top N filtering?
yeah. So
Got it.
yeah. So for example, if I am filtering not blank, and then I want to see the percentage of total inclusive of that blank, but that blank should not be there in the view.
Ooh, okay, got it. I think I'm getting it. Hold on. So let me see the closest that I can get to recreating it. So here, what we're gonna do is so wait. So are you really showing kind of only top 10 or top X, or are you just removing blank? Is that all you're doing?
Yeah, blank, I don't want to see in the view, but while calculating percentage of total, it should consider blank.
Oh, okay. But where does top N come in?
Blank,
There's no
for
top N
example,
in any
blank
of that.
sales.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that problem, and you can solve it.
Yeah,
But that doesn't involve top N, right? Just want to be sure.
I want to involve, for example, top 10. I want to involve in that top top 10 and with percentage of sales value, for example,
And blank removed.
and excluding blanks. Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
you got it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So let's kind of focus on this guy. Top customers, and here. Okay. Okay. Got it. And here, let's do this. Let's do. Actually, instead of customers, I'm thinking maybe let's go to product category. Okay, and we'll have top N by sales. Nope, and we'll say subcategory. We'll just do top 5. Let's do that. Oh, by sales. Mm, So we go that, and what else? Oh yeah, the total. Turn on the total here. Actually, that's. Oh man, that's the thing with the AdventureWorks. Now, oh, let's filter down to a specific year. Maybe that'll make things better. Okay, fair enough. All right, so we're showing top 5. Maybe we remove blanked as well, right? I don't think I have any blank in this data set. So here, these ones add up to kind of 15, and the really the total sales is kind of 16 million. And you want to do percentage of total, but which total? This is the numerator. What is the denominator?
The denominator should be 16, the one in which you're seeing at the top.
Got it. Okay.
So which includes blank
Yep.
subcategory.
Yeah. All right. So cool. It's gonna exclude everything. So what have you tried so far?
So simply like if percentage of total values by dragging measures to the
Oh, okay.
value there.
Yeah,
And,
got it. Yeah.
But
So
I think some sort of DAX function should be put.
yes.
But
yes.
I am not aware of it.
Yeah, I got it. Makes sense. All right. So so folks, what Mukund is talking about, there's a you can do a lot of DAX without actually doing any DAX. There's stuff here. There's quick measure and all the stuff, and you know that's great. But I think Grant was talking about that earlier in the beginning of the session where he was talking about the levels, right? So, or frankly, the roles. So, the way I see it generally, and again, there's it's like a fluid boundary, but there are kind of model authors, which are actually really few, and they're special. You know, this is a crown, by the way. This is the kings, and gosh, that looks horrible. and then there are users, and users is a very big pool, and this ratio can be totally out of whack with Power BI. It used to be that this ratio in a department was 1:20. There was this one Excel jockey who was cranking out reports, and one Excel jockey could feed, could support about a group of 20 people. So that's why in any group of 20 you went in, there would always be this data guy. Now this can be 1 to 100. Now this can be 1 to 1,000. Right, so it can be really, kind of pretty incredible. So yeah, so impact is pretty huge. So if you're on that side, then I think you should learn DAX. And again, it's a journey. So definitely DAX is involved. So Mukund's instinct is right. So we're just gonna say so again, we already have the numerator. We got the numerator over there. So we'll just get the denominator right next to it. So let's go to sales, and we're gonna say. Okay, new measure, and we're gonna say sales all subcategory, and we say that one is. And again, I love reusing measures. So we do want to do something with sales, but again, we want to kind of change the context. It calculates sales, but for all subcategories, don't just, right? I mean, if we just say sales, then we're going to get the same number we see over here, 215, right? So we don't want that. We want something different for denominator. And of course, the way to change the context in which you ask the question on the filter context is calculate. So that's a magic wand. We're going to bring out calculate, and then we're going to say all subcategory, product subcategory. And let's try that. Okay, so we got that, and currency general and I'm going to add that one in there and see what that looks like. Perfect. So that's it. And of course, at this point, it is just percentage of the real total is just 1 divided by 2. So percentage of real total equals just sales divided by sales all. Oh, I missed a square bracket. Come on, Power BI. It's not. Oh, there we go. Oh shoot, I messed it up. All right, there. And that one happened. We're gonna change that to percentage. We're gonna say 0. And I'm gonna add that. And we really don't need this to show there, so we can remove that. And yeah, so this would the denominator, by the way, it would, sorry, what did I do? Even if you had filtered out blank, this would give you everything. All right, Mukund. So what do you think? Is this what you were looking for? Sometimes I kind of get it wrong. Is this
Yes. So
perfect?
percentage of, yeah, it's right.
Right. So
Correct. But if
yeah.
if I apply a slicer also, will it work?
Ooh, great question. So of course DAX has the magic of
That
define
is the
once.
actually main requirement that I have.
Yeah.
I'm having a slicer also.
Yeah, so DAX generally has the magic of define once, use everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, sales, even to do things like this. So I define sales, and sales is sum of sales amount. But if I wanted to show sales by over time and by category and department, if you were using anything else like Excel, you can't do with one formula. You would have to write lots and lots and lots of formulas. But of course, DAX doesn't work that way, and that's why it's magical. I just define sales once, and then I can slice and dice it by category, subcategory. I can slice and dice it over time. I can slice and dice. I don't have it here, but by territory, all of that stuff. Right? It's magical. So generally, it's automatic, right? You can always slice and dice it, but not always. So yeah, it's a good idea to test it. So let's go in here and and again, so now I'm thinking it also depends on what you want. So do you want the slicer to affect the denominator or not? Like if I select country is this, what is the right answer for you? What should the denominator be? If I filter down to Canada, then this number is going to change. Do you want this to change as well, or do you want this to always be 16.473 million?
Yeah, I want the denominator to change based on
Country.
slicer.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it should respect that, but
Hmm.
not respect the top n or the blank filters. Fair enough, right? Actually, sometimes I like kind of writing down what we're telling. So so uh, the total. So we want the total to respect pretty much all slicers, but not really respect the the top n or removing blank filter. So we did have only show me top 5, top 10 doesn't matter, something like that, and we say don't show me blanks. So it's gonna ignore that, which it does. But the question is, does it respect the slicers? So if we say Canada, let's see what happens. Canada, and boom. So it does, right? So yeah, I mean it does respect the slicer, and you can go to town with it. Cool. So this is what you're looking for. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, mate.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yep. So folks, yeah, I mean you can go kind of beyond it. It's gonna respect everything. How about we go to occupation, change that to a slicer, and you can say in Canada I want to focus on management. And there we go, right? So it does that. So again, DAX is freaking magical. Define once, use everywhere. How cool is that? Mukund, thank you for that question. I'll sign off on here. And we'll see you around on the channel. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So I will be in Banff next Friday. We were thinking about doing a live there, but frankly, I don't know what kind of connectivity I'm going to have. I would be more than happy to jump on and kind of jam with you guys, but we'll test the connectivity. We'll see how that's there. If I don't have great connectivity, then we'll see. So yeah, so watch out for next Friday, but I think I'm back after that one. And that one is our Independence Day special. So I'm excited about that. And the theme we're thinking about is that what kind of transformation has Power BI caused in your life? Like, has it freed you up from something? Freed you up from data drudgery? Freed you up from being chained to your reports? Right? Freed you up from being called on your vacation, like, hey, Avi, how do I refresh this report again? It's like, I know you're in Hawaii, but maybe you can get online and help us, something like that. So what has that been? So that's going to be I think that's on July 5th. So I know it's the July 4th week, but we're excited about that. We're excited to be talking about that. I'll see you next time, my friends. Power on.